Today on Ladies Brunch Club, Dippy Egg.
Basically, a Dippy egg is a Tenga egg, essentially.
An interview with the developers of Yo Noid 2 Enter the Void.
The Noid is the progenitor of the dab within the lore of Yo Noid 2. He came up with it.
We talk about games. What's that game that came out recently? Was it Anthem. It was called Anthem.
Rather than a train wreck, this one's just kind of ground to a halt and is rusting on the tracks, whereas Fallout 76 tried to multi-track drift and just like crash at the bottom of a mountain.
Pumping up your toad.
Someone is bringing Toad all the way to orgasm.
What the fuck?
Blizzard wants to know when you're ovulating.
I want them to have a healthy baby because it's great for our business experience. This means
Garfield Eats, a pizza shaped like Garfield's head.
One of them is in Canada and one of them is in Dubai.
What's it doing in Dubai?
People in Dubai love Garfield.
Why?
That's a question you could ask about people anywhere.
Some free word association.
Crash,
Team Racing.
Professor,
Leighton.
Daddy.
Bowser.
All this and more coming up on Ladies Brunch Club. But first, this.
Okay, has everybody hacked it, whacked it, what is that song?
Is it okay if
Hacking
I
it?
jack it while we record?
Yeah, go nuts.
Okay, so...
I don't need a jacket, it's very warm right now.
Okay, done.
You should never have given her that mic. Alrighty. Can we rename the podcast?
What to?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a perfect name, I like it a lot.
How about Sexy Specs and the Wonder Bunch?
No.
No.
What about Mugen Pals?
Mugen Pals.
Why is this always the name of a band that my dad listens to? Come on.
What about the
Can we call it?
Heathcliff
Can we? No.
Appreciation Society?
Can we call it Ladies Brunch Club
I mean, brunch is a better meal than
instead
lunch.
of gentlemen's lunchtime ass?
Ladies Brunch Club.
Hello and welcome to That's right. Rock me, baby. Baby. Rock me, baby. Baby. That's right. Baby, 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 baby.
Okay,
Never.
so welcome to the Ladies Brunch Club and Heathcliff Association Society podcast. I'm Catsman. With me, Moogle Pies,
Hello.
Raisin Bran,
Hello.
Shiny, Missingno. There he is down there, it's Specs.
Hey.
And Wild and Woolly Shambler.
Hey.
And what are we going to kick off with? Because I haven't thought really this far ahead.
Do you want to do your warm-up and do a list of lubricants?
Oh, yeah.
Lubricant.
I've been meaning to do this lubricant thing for absolutely ages, you know. So,
Can I just... Guys,
Yes, Bran.
really... Bran. Okay.
Yeah.
So, there's
What?
a lot of breath noise going into your mic.
You must move away from the mic to breathe in.
Or you speak to talk.
that's vintage, that is. That's vintage.
There you go.
Do you know
Vintage wings.
Tay Zonday is still alive?
Well, yes, he's
Yeah.
only like 40-something, isn't he?
He's 40 something.
Jesus
He
Christ.
was like a teenager when
No,
he
he
did
wasn't.
the video.
He was a grown adult. He just looked like a child.
No, I don't.
He
believe
was. He's literally a grown adult. I'm gonna Google him, and you're gonna know. And I'm gonna give you a fact. Tay Zonday.
He was born 1982, which makes him
36.
37.
There you go. So he's not in his 40s. I was right.
Well, he's still old.
37. You say 37 is old, Shiny, but one day you'll wake up and you'll be 37.
I'm already old.
I wish it did rain.
About 10 years from now, you'll wake up and you'll be 37.
Yeah, I'll wake up and
Happens
be
to the best of us.
37, and I'll think, I can't believe I've been old for 10 years. Anyway,
The point is lube. So I'm just gonna read the list slowly, and if you want to make a noise after I've said one of them, then go nuts. Item number 1: gravel.
wait.
What?
Gravel. Item number 2: crushed Doritos.
Valid.
Where's the Mountain Dew?
Item number 6: shaving cream.
Oh no.
Maple syrup.
That,
Ga-
yeah.
Gasoline.
Oh.
Bit of friction, lads. Don't want any of that.
Grey matter.
Don't like that one.
Melted butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicks Vapor Rub.
Oh, that'd smell nice at least.
That would be painful. That would be
It
so
would be painful,
sore.
but at least it'd smell good.
No, that would hurt so much.
Is Vicks? It's mentholy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna sting.
That's gonna really hurt.
You know when you're in the shower and you decide, actually, I'm gonna use the mint shower gel
the original
today,
sauce
and
peppermint.
you use it
I'm
on
so cold.
you
chilly
use it
one,
on your
lads.
balls, and you're like, whoo. Oh, all right. Oh, hey, whoa, this is a new sensation.
And then you start to weep involuntarily from every orifice.
From where?
Fondue.
Wouldn't that be really
Cheese
hot?
or chocolate?
Yes.
I assumed chocolate, but maybe cheese. Mud.
Nah,
No.
that's dirty.
Out my
Icy
swamp,
hot.
lads. Out my swamp.
Icy
Oh.
hot? No.
Ditto the Pokemon.
No, he doesn't need that. That's no. That's mean.
Olive oil with flakes of oregano.
Oh.
I don't know.
Gotta
I
season
think
it.
you could add oregano to enhance pleasure, couldn't you?
I was with you on the
Texture,
olive
yeah.
oil.
Because
Extra
it always does. I put it in pizza sauce. It's wonderful stuff. So I don't see the problem with that.
True.
Bong water.
Bum water.
Oh, I don't want
No.
bong water.
Bong water.
Bum water.
Bong water.
Bum water.
Ass milk.
Oh. Hold on. I've just read one that says natural oils of a horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Like
No.
sweat?
What?
no, I don't know what the natural oils of a horse are.
I suppose perhaps it's sebum, not its semen, but like the oil from its skin.
It
Sweat.
says it's from a supernatural fan fiction about Native Americans stealing horses.
Well, no, not necessarily sweat. Like animals, like humans and humans, like all produce natural oils.
Yeah,
Just like
it's
from-
called sebum,
It's-
isn't it?
Yeah, it's called sebum. That's what I said. Or in the case of sheep, it's called lanolin.
Nice.
But yeah, it's probably just that. But I don't know how you collect enough of it to use as lubricante.
You just get a lot of horses.
Yeah, you just
You can
Just
grind
grind them
down
all
a lot
out.
of horses and
just
then
wick them off.
distill all the horse moisture.
Boil them.
Boil. Pages from a book.
What?
How? You just get
No
paper
thanks.
cuts.
Let me look up.
Some people are probably into that.
This is apparently from a Greco-Roman history fan fiction with a splash of Harry Potter and Dorian Gray.
Interesting combinations.
I don't know which one this is from, but Mpreg breast milk,
Christ,
Okay.
okay.
marshmallow fluff,
Yeah, I can see that working.
raw egg.
Yeah, I can see that working.
Raw Craig.
As long as it's dippy.
Any mention on a dippy egg?
I haven't seen Dippy egg here so far, which is really disappointing.
it.
Simply the yolk. No! Oh my god! That's just basically a dippy egg is a Tenga egg, essentially.
Don't
'Cause you-
say that.
It's true. Because you've got the white that's hard, that conceals it, and then you've got the yolk in the middle to lubricate it. Perfect.
You're ruining Dippy eggs for someone out there right now.
Or I'm making them for
With-
someone else.
True, that is
Not
true.
literally.
Evens out.
A jellyfish, holy water, bird poop, melted candle wax. Ooh, the tears of children.
Yes.
Yep.
Can we
Acceptable.
wind back to the melted candle wax one? What do you do if it like sets while you're in there?
You just have to like rub together until you get enough friction to melt it.
What if your willy acts like a wick and goes on fire?
Happens to the best of us.
A multi-wicked candle from the pube.
You go to the hospital and the doctor's like, "Oh, not another one. Candle penis."
The third one this week.
Go to the penis candle ward, you idiot.
I've seen it happen.
I bet you have. Gelato, which I like because that's just ice cream, but better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that just the Italian word for ice cream?
Yeah, it is, but it's made slightly differently.
Napalm.
No.
Don't like that.
Souls.
I
Well,
like
like
that.
souls of feet or souls emotionally?
Souls.
Okay.
Wow.
Or feet. Or fish.
Fucking necromancers.
Or fish, yeah.
Fish.
The fear toxin from that Batman movie that wasn't very good.
Jesus.
Batman Begins. Pack it up, pack it in.
Blueberry muffin batter with a stray blueberry used to stimulate the prostate.
Oh, lad.
Specific.
Birthing fluid.
No.
Just make you feel that man Specs. How do you feel about this?
I'm just
very
reminding Specs
bad.
of his job.
The miracle of birth.
Amniotic fluid is just not a pleasant feeling on your hands.
Don't talk.
I know what you're thinking.
No, just no. Next.
Shadow magic from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Love that.
Good.
Does anyone know what Tiger Balm is?
Yeah, that's like deep heat.
Oh, right, okay.
Ooh.
It's a bit like Vicks Vapor Rub. So.
And icy hot, I suppose, as well.
yeah,
apparently.
it's going to be like that.
Pain.
Tingles.
Sword polishing oil.
It's oil at the end of the day.
Different sort of sword this time, love.
I don't get it.
He's talking about willies, mate.
Oh, right, okay. I'm going to end with not the last item, but it is really long. Nagaimo, aka Yamaimo, or long potato. From the submitter, the slimiest vegetable. If you touch it, your finger pulls away with a viscous, pornographically saliva-like string.
Sounds
I
good, lad.
peeled one and then tried to wash it and was super scared of dropping it. It was so well lubed. It was like washing a slug, and it leaves a slime that is hard to wash off.
Fantastic.
But what was the lubricant?
The
all of
weird,
that.
slimy potato thing.
Because I leave a slime that's hard to wash off on my own, mate.
I don't get it. That's my warm-up. Does anyone want to talk about video games?
Yeah.
She's talking about lube, mate.
Should we talk about Yo Noid 2?
Yeah, let's do that
We
now.
should talk about Yo Noid too.
Yeah.
Yo Noid 2 Enter the Void is a fan game that is based off the original Yo Noid for NES, which was a Americanization of the game Masked Ninja Hanamaru, in which you play as the Noid, the Domino's pizza mascot, and have to save pizzas and defeat negative Noids by beating them in a pizza eating contest. Yo Noid 2 is, Yo Noid 1 was a side-scrolling action platformer. Yo Noid 2 is a 3D, more kind of open-worldy in places action platformer with some cool swinging physics and a good sense of humour. That's how I'd describe it.
They fixed everything that I didn't like about Yo Noid 1.
What, the whole game?
Yeah, basically. They just took it and threw it in the trash where it belongs.
It looked very fun, like unironically.
It was. I really enjoyed it. I really like it. It's actually a really good game.
I mean, Yo Noid 2 is impressive on a lot of levels, but one level that I think it's impressive in is that it deliberately kind of makes you think it's gonna be a bit shit. Like, the first level, I mean, it's well put together and stuff, but it's not necessarily super, like, representative of the rest of the game. And,
it's a remake of Yo Noid first level.
Yeah, exactly.
It is, yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's not, like, a particularly competently done remake. It's just, like, a big line of platforms floating there.
Yeah.
You get to the end of it and you're like, oh, this is about alright for, like, a a weird like Game Jam Yo Noid fan sequel thing, and then suddenly the game opens up with this like hub world that's actually really polished and like dialogue with different like characters who are wandering around, and
all the characters are ingredients from pizzas. So you talk to little mushrooms and tomatoes and olives and things. Yeah,
it's got this really cool, really authentic like 90s aesthetic, both in terms of like the visual design and color palette, but also stuff like affine texture warping and NTSC filtering and what you have.
Yeah, and it's got a weird fisheye lens thing going on as well, which reminds me of Sonic Extreme, that game that never came out on the Sega Saturn. But yeah, the texture warping as well is very sort of PS1 era.
The dialogue windows and like portraits are very Saturn or PS1.
Yeah. No, I like that graphic design aesthetic. I hope it comes back one day.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I really like... I mean, I like what they did with how much they had fun with things as well. Just coming to, like, the dab. I think we need to mention the dab before we go anywhere.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the dab.
So
oh god, yes.
Your controls in the game are jump. There is a button to swing off things using the Noid's yo-yo once you get it back after the first level, and you can use that for platforming, and you also use it to drag things around. There's a lot of like box moving puzzles in the game. But your other button is a dedicated dab button, which is on the trigger, and it's an analog trigger. So you can pull a dab as slowly or as quickly as you want to, and you can dab during dialogue sections, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's the thing about it's the fact that there's a dedicated dab button in the game. You like chuckle a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's kind of funny and stupid. But then you realize that not only is the dab entirely like animation blended and analog, but also he dabs during cutscenes with the little prompts that come up with the cartoon versions of the characters, and additionally you can ledge grab in this game, but you can't while you're dabbing because he doesn't have his hands free. So you sit down and it's almost funnier the amount of effort they've put into something so monumentally stupid as the actual joke itself. And that's kind of the whole deal with this game. It's like really high effort.
Yeah, and much more than it needed to be. Like, as well as the first level, the intro, that's like the remake level. There's 3 full levels, and then there's like a boss level as well. And they're all quite different. They're not just your traditional 3D platforming challenges. And I guess, do we want to go through each level and kind of describe it a bit and talk about what we liked and didn't like about it?
Anybody would just want to shout out anything about levels in here?
Pizza.
Pizza. This game has fucking spherical planetoids in it.
Yep.
Yeah, so one of the levels...
That impressed me a lot when I got to that. That's like the first level. That's the first level I did.
It's not, you can do the levels in any order you want, but there's this level where eventually you get to a Mario Galaxy-esque style little group of planetoids, and you can just run around the planet. It's very Mario Galaxy.
Well, the crazy thing is, the whole planet, the whole thing that you start on is also spherical.
That's true, actually.
You just don't notice when you're starting on it, because it's really big.
Yeah, and you can boundary break on it and run around the entire planet on the first bit, the level as well. And then when you get to the little globes, sort of when you're in space, you can long jump on them and like loop around them like in Mario Galaxy as well. You can get caught in like an infinite loop around the planets.
So one level is like a planetoidy level with keys and doors. One level is, I'd say, like a more linear platforming challenge with a couple of puzzles. And then one level is like a proper like Zelda dungeon type thing where you've got all of these switches that open different doors, but they only stay open for a certain amount of time and pull out other platforms. And you've actually got to like do spatial reasoning and stuff to get around, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it is good.
It is. I was amazed by that level.
It has dynamic music in it, where as you solve more of it, more layers are added to the background music. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I didn't know that. That's really
dynamic
cool.
music is like, I love any game that does that.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's done quite well in it, and I think what's the coolest about the Zelda type dungeon level as well is it's got this central kind of set of platforms that you move around, so you can pull them and they rotate so that you can get up to different ledges and different doors. But as you progress through the dungeon and unlock more doors, you're pushing switches that make more elements become attached to this central rotating platform that then let you get to other areas higher up in the dungeon. And it's very kind of Majora's Mask's design, that you've got one central room that you're affecting to then get to different rooms later on.
And of course, we haven't even talked about the game's, I'd say, main mobility mechanic, which is the yo-yo, which effectively acts like a grappling hook. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. Not only can you pull switches and levers and hang on to things, but you can also do stuff like grappling while wall running. Oh yeah, there's wall running in this game. And it's like Prince of Persia style wall running.
It works quite well. It's a bit fiddly in places, and it's very much dependent on which angle you come into the wall at. So I had some troubles with it on my first playthrough, but it's very cool that you can grapple onto something while you're wall running, which gives you a bunch of momentum for the wall run. And it's got proper physics on this grappling. So I described it a couple of times as being like Umihara Kawase, but in 3D. So you have a lot of speed, downward speed. When you grapple, you'll almost bungee back up when you do a grapple, and you can carry all that momentum into your wall runs or into future jumps. It's really good, actually.
So, how many times did you beat this game?
I 100%ed this game. Well, not quite.
You did all the characters, didn't
I did all of the characters. So there's 5 characters in the game. There's the Noid. There's Green Noid, who is like Luigi, so you jump higher, but you're more slippery. There is Crust 40, which is the Sonic character, so you just run really, really fast. There's the Pill, which is... it's a character based on like their initial model that they were using for when they were doing testing with stuff, and it's just like a little pill-shaped Noid. He's funny because he has no arms, but he still kind of dabs with these antennae he's got on his head. And he can double jump, but not very high, so it's kind of a I want to be the guy situation, and you've kind of got to cheat for some of the levels to be able to do them with him. And then the last character is the same as the original Noid, but it's the Noid wearing a Hatsune Miku outfit.
Oh my god. Yeah,
because Hatsune Miku is now the Dominos mascot. But yeah, I played this game for like 6 hours. I really enjoyed it.
You played a lot more of it than I did.
I really liked it.
But you didn't fully 100% it.
No, because the way you unlock characters is to unlock one of them, you have to get all of the pizzas in every level. Every level has like loads of little pizzas that when you pick up there's this announcer that just goes pizza.
Yeah,
if you get all of them in every level, you unlock someone. If you find all of the chicken dinners which are hidden throughout the levels, then you get another character unlock as well, and you get one just as a new game plus character.
Fucking love a good collectathon.
What else is good about the game? So one of the things that I found really funny is there's in the first level I did, which is the more standard platforming level where you're going through a kind of pizza factory. There is a bit where you can pull a rock into a little hole and it makes a mushroom appear who goes, "Yahaha, you found me!" And I found that hilarious, just as a reference. And it didn't need to be there. Like, it's just extra effort that they've gone in to make this game. Like, there's so many little touches that just don't need to be there, but are funny and make me think, wow, this is actually a good game.
Yeah, the dialogue is really funny, I think. It's full of really stupid puns, but the game, in its own internal logic, it takes itself very seriously.
And then once you complete all 3 levels, you unlock the boss level, which has a really funny reference to that one TV commercial where the guy throws a package through a television.
Is that a reference to something?
Yeah, it's a reference to... I can't remember which delivery company it is.
1984 Apple advert or something like that. Or...
It might be, yeah. It gets parodied fairly often because I remember they parodied it in Futurama as well.
Yeah, I think it's the 1984 Apple advert.
That might be it. But you like swing a box through a TV or a dice or something through a TV, and then you fight Mike Hatsune, who has become the new director of Domino's Pizza. And the boss fight is not very good. I don't think it's fully kind of fleshed out, and it's just kind of annoying. Once you have to do it like 5 times if you want to like complete the game fully. But you know, I like that they put the effort in to do it, and it's got a very kind of squidcore music that plays while you do it, which is nice.
Vocal Noid.
That is the name of the last character.
It's genius.
And there's this little intro cutscene before the game starts that shows why the Noid is doing this. And it's just like this fat guy in a suit kind of dressed up as the Noid.
MD.
It does look like MD, yeah. And then at the end, if you complete it with all characters, a bit where they're like summoning the same guy but dressed as Hatsune Miku with the Noid hat on, and everyone's like doing a Gregorian chant around him, but the like lyrics to the chant are like Hatsune Domine and Miku Domine and stuff like that. It's really funny.
So good game.
I'd say, yeah, good game. I don't really know if I've got anything else to say about it.
It's a good shitpost.
How many stars?
I mean, for what it is, for a fan game that was put together for like a game jam, I'd say 5 out of 5.
As a game in general.
As a game in general, I mean, it's quite short if you want to just play it through once, which really, if you weren't a weirdo like me, you probably would.
But it's free as well, isn't it?
It is free, yeah.
It's so effortless that it's still like max score, because
I
would say.
I mean, I can't fault it much.
There's so many ways to rate games, it just gets annoying to think about.
I'd tell people, yo, if you want to play a funky 3D platformer, play this. Like, I would say to anyone who likes 3D platformers, play this game. Honestly, I'd recommend it.
I would give this game 2 out of 2 Ronnies.
I would say it's really close to being like really good. I think my one gripe is that like the movement feels really good when you can get it to work. The problem is getting it to work is kind of finicky.
I agree, yeah. The wall running can be a bit odd.
The wall running, like when you get it right, it feels really good. But that was, I guess, like it was too hard to get it to work consistently. But if they like polished up the wall running a bit and like the general like mechanics, I would like really love this game.
Yeah,
it's like so close.
My gripe, as a fan of the original Yo Noid, is that there weren't enough pizza eating contests.
Oh my god,
pizza eating contests. I would have liked actually if they'd put a pizza eating contest in the game.
Just one, yeah, actually, just as a reference.
Yeah, just do that exact minigame, because it's also a minigame. So.
I hate it.
The minigame doesn't make any sense, Happy Man.
Yeah, it does. The area champion goes first.
Because it's like if you've done okay in the level and collected enough pizza card things, then it's trivial, and if you haven't, then by the end of the game you'll just lose. So
you just need to be smart. You just need to be smart about using your multipliers.
There's no strategy to the multipliers.
Yeah, there fucking is, dude. Inevitably, the other guy is gonna pick a 1 or a 2, and that's when you maximize by like tripling a 4 or whatever you have, and you just win the game, like, or at least you get halfway there. Yeah. Like, there is a strategy to it.
There's definitely a strategy, but it relies very much on you having enough cards. You can put yourself in a situation where you don't have enough cards to win, and that happened to me, and I had to go back 2 levels to a previous save state to, like, finish the game.
I was talking to someone on the internet about this. I was talking to them, and I said something like, one of the reasons that I don't like Battle Royale games is that ultimately a lot of what determines your success is where you land and whether there's a good weapon there and how many other people have also landed there and whether they find a weapon before you do. And someone fucking said to me, I don't know who it was, someone said to me, I'm stalling for time because I've forgotten what they said. You can cut all this out in editing, it's fine.
You're editing this one.
I'll just sound like I was making a coherent point. Why am I still going?
What did they say?
What a waste of time this
What did they say? Catsman.
Please tell us what they said.
They said, well, in poker, you just get dealt a load of cards, and you have to play them as best you can. And I'm like, yeah, but that's poker and this is fucking Fortnite, you piece of shit idiot. It's
How
not
does this
even
relate?
it's not even slightly a comparison.
How does this relate?
It did like a minute ago when I started giving the long explanation.
Alright, my last thought on Yo Noid is sometimes the camera is really far away and it's difficult to tell like whether you're actually going to touch a wall with a jump. There's a couple of places it wants you to do like wall run into a corner and then jump to the next wall that you just can't see whether you're going to hit it or not. That's the only other problem I think I've got with it, which again is kind of related to the wall running being a bit finicky. So I'd say if they got that down and fixed, then yeah, there'd be no problems with the game really.
I especially noticed that in the temple level. Like the other level I played, like the Planetoid one, that seemed pretty fine, but in like the closed quarters of the temple level, the camera definitely had some issues, which made the already difficult wall running even more difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
And now you get the pleasure of listening to us interview the Yo Noid developers.
I guess we should do introductions. I'm Specs, you can call me Jacob if you like. This is Catsman, you can call him Rob, I assume he's okay with that.
No, you can't. You can only call me Catsman.
Alright, you can call him Catsman. What roles did you guys play in making Yo Noid 2 then?
So I'm Dustin. I go by Aska online sometimes. I'm basically the progenitor of the project. I saw that this game jam was happening from this website I follow, and I'm like, I should do this. And then I roped in a bunch of other of these goobers. So I did a lot of programming and, just general design stuff and just kind of helped oversee the thing. So
yeah, for certain we wouldn't be here without him. And I'm Harrison. I tend to go online as Flukes in some circles. And I just did like a lot of stuff all over the place, art, programming, and I also had some work that was kind of already done even before the project started that we, for the sake of time, kind of tapped into. So there's that.
Okay.
All right, and my name is Alex. I go by Axelrod, sometimes Axelrod777. These two had a lot more experience than most people, including myself on the project, and did a lot of heavy lifting. This was an amateur project for me, my first basically game project. But I went into it just guns blazing. You'll find a lot of the more sloppily put together parts of the game were things I put together. In addition to putting together some of the levels and coming up with a few of the design choices in the game, just in dialogue. I also had kind of like a project manager-ish role by the end of it, where I was just trying to push everyone to get it. Like, let's just get going. Just put it in the game. Doesn't matter. Stop thinking about it. Just go.
Axel's job was valuable. He screamed at people when they needed to be yelled at. And it was there was actually many things in the game that would not have gotten in if Axel did not use some tough love on some of our members, honestly.
And like, I felt a little bad, but a bunch of people approached me after and said, like, thank you. This game wouldn't have been what it was without you. So I guess I feel good about it at this point.
How many people were on the team in total?
The credits is the best indication of that. I believe the original release was, 17?
There's kind of definitely like a core and then a bunch of like orbiting participants who contributed very specific things that were really important, but weren't necessarily working on like every part of the project as much.
Yeah, so there's like Lawrence. He basically only made it so that we could save the game, which is important, but that was like a couple of hour thing.
Yeah, none of us knew how to do it, so...
What I wanted to ask you, the burning question on everyone's mind is why Noid now? Why Noid right now?
Okay, so the inception of this game jam is a community game jam for a website called Waypoint. Their community decided to do a community game jam, and they decided it would be a month long. And the theme of the game jam was picking one of their podcast episodes and using the title of the episode. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go through all their previous episodes, some of the stuff they talked about. And they had one podcast title that was Yo Noid was ahead of its time. Where they briefly talked about Yo Noid as a game and how it sort of was the inception of like the mascot platformer, despite it being really bad. And I'm like, okay, we can build off that. And that was how I pitched it to everybody. It's just like, let's make a sequel to Yo Noid from the NES.
I mean, it's easy to make a sequel to a bad game in a sense, because you just have to make it less bad than that.
Yeah, the standards are so low.
The standards are so low, and also you have a lot of really like specific imagery you can pick out from it, because it was a very specific thing, the Noid game.
the idea started racing so quickly because it's like something that stuck with us the whole time was the whole ahead of its time like part of that podcast title made us think, okay, the Noid is like so ahead of its time that even though his game came out during the 5th generation N64 or PS1, he's dabbing already because he's just so ahead of his time.
Yeah.
The Noid is the progenitor of the dab within the lore of Yo Noid 2. He came up with it.
And this being a long lost PS1 game, so like the idea of just like grappling mechanics and Zelda dungeons, like the Noid invented all this stuff.
So I really like the whole kind of texture warping like in PS1 that you've got going on in the game and the fisheye lensing sort of thing. Like, how hard was that to implement? And obviously it made it look a lot more like an old school kind of PS1 title.
Yeah, we Googled PS1 shaders for Unity and found a pack. Yeah, we did some tweaking and massaging after the fact, and the VHS shader was something that one of our developers, Sam, was already aware of and like suggested to us, and I think Quaid bit the bullet and bought it. It's slightly massaged, but basically just cut and paste, slapped in the game, and there you go.
Did you have any history with Yo Noid? Did you ever play the original Yo Noid?
I had heard plenty about the game and had tried it on occasion just in like, I'm going to boot up random NES games and try them, and I've heard of Yo Noid plenty of times, but no, I had never had too much specific experience with it outside of hearing about it and knowing what it looked like.
I had never heard of this goddamn game in my life.
Great.
The reason we know about it and the reason we're so excited about your project actually is because one of our friends, Willie Shambler, he loves Yo Noid and he insists it's a good game, and I've played it and I can see there's good elements to it, but it's not a good game.
Oh, no, there aren't.
The thing you immediately notice about Yo Noid on the NES is just how terrible it controls. It feels really, really bad.
Yeah, definitely.
It's slippery at the start, and then the second level is an ice level, so it's even more slippery.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't even know that. Like, it's just so little knowledge.
Yeah, you guys are teaching me about Yo Noid.
Yeah.
A good segue on this is actually controls, because I've made platformers in the past, and typically with a platformer, you spend like a really long time at the start just with like boxes getting the controls right, because until you know like how far the character can jump, you don't necessarily know how far away to put all of the like platforms and stuff and how high to make all the ledges. So I'm curious as to like how you made a 3D platformer movement in a month and got all of the levels like working and done with that movement.
Can I just say as well, Otterfiend told me that your original prototype for the game was Mario 64's Bob-omb Battlefield, but with the Noid, is that true?
The capsule Noid that you can play in the game, the Cappy, the unlockable character.
Yeah.
There was a point where that was the game on Bob-omb Battlefield and everything was textured of pizza, and that was the project for probably like the first like week, honestly.
And as for like the platforming control specifically, that honestly didn't start really coming together until halfway through the project, and it got to the point where we were running out of time, and that was my primary focus. And it was really stressful at the time.
I can imagine.
To like get that feeling correctly, because we were kind of porting over what Luke's had already been working on in his own time, like his platforming engine. And by the time we were like, I had spent 2 days just trying to rush to get this thing like workable. We were like, okay, we're running out of time. Let's just use what Flukes has already built and just move on, because this is taking up way too much time.
I believe that was something that I had to yell to us about. Like, we can't keep trying to tweak this platforming engine to make it perfect for a 1 month long game. Just get it working so we can design the levels, because you're right. You can't design the levels until you know how far the character can jump, how far they can wall run, what the tether's capable of doing. And that was a point where we had to reach pretty quick. But a lot of the heavy lifting was done by Flukes ahead of the project, just because he was working on this in his own time.
Right. So, like, kind of set the groundwork stage for a lot of that. I had basically been working on my own 3D platformer engines, like, off and on for, like, the last, like, year or two. And I happened to already be making something with a grapple. And, we sat there and we thought about the yo-yo, just, like, that whole angle to Yo Noid, this additional angle.
Oh, right. So that was how the yo-yo came into it. It was, like, a pre-existing idea that you realized you could, like, bolt on.
Pretty much. It was like, oh, I already made these like crappy grapple mechanics, but we can justify it with this yo-yo.
Because that kind of ended up being the linchpin of most of the platforming in the game.
And that's the thing about the original Yo Noid, is the yo-yo didn't really play into that game that much, whereas ours is like pivotal to the action.
You say crappy grappling mechanics. I love the way the grappling works in this game. Have you ever played Umihara Kawase?
I was definitely aware of it.
The way the grappling feels, it's got proper physics in Yo Noid 2. And I've often said, it's like Umihara Kawase, but in 3D, because it's got proper, like, you can bungee off it if you're falling fast enough and you grapple something. I really like how you can use the speed from a grapple into a wall run and stay grappled, so then you can swing around stuff. I think the platforming mechanics are actually really good in Yo Noid 2. So to hear that you just kind of had it floating around and then kind of shoved it into this project, it's like, it's really cool. I think it's really good.
Honestly, a lot of the dev time early on was actually spent making the grapple mechanics not bad. Because when I say crappy grapple mechanics, like the Progenitor project, they were pretty bad. But like a lot of that initial effort went into just making them work better. Like pulling objects around, getting pulled by objects that are influencing you. All these things like didn't really exist. It was basically nothing but you click a button and you will be like tethered to this position and you won't be able to go further away than that. It's basically all that existed prior.
Oh, okay. Right.
But yeah, we felt like we were cheating though, which is why in a way we took everything we had and said, let's remake it, but very quickly. Right.
That was always my big hang-up, was that this was supposed to be for a game jam, and bringing in all that existing tech felt bad to me in a way, but by the time this thing ballooned into what it did, I started to care a little less and less about that aspect of it and just wanted to make something cool in the time that we had, so...
It is hard to know where to draw the line when it comes to things you can reuse, because we are already using an entire game engine by making it in Unity.
Yeah.
Whereas other people are making it from scratch, and there's a lot. If you're going to take one system that was made ahead of time and also put it in on top of your game engine, like, it's a matter of like beliefs and semantics at that point, what from scratch really means in today's day and age.
Yeah, we had a self-awareness by the end of this project, though, that this project had outgrown this game jam, that it had become something more. Like, we were self-aware by the end. We were like, okay, this doesn't matter. We've made something pretty cool.
When I suggested this thing that we do, I could not have even began to tell you that it would have turned into what it turned into. This thing is so much bigger and fully featured than I could have ever expected it would have been.
No, I totally agree. I mean, if you really want to start from scratch, you'd first have to invent a computer and stuff. So,
yeah.
On that topic, what was the worst thing to get working of everything in the game? Because I noticed a lot of like weirdly ambitious things, like, you know, spherical planetoids and stuff. I was going to ask, like, what thing was the most pain in the ass?
I had the spherical planetoids working with the precursor kind of engine, so we kind of just got to inherit that.
Yeah, a lot of that was just cleanup work, so it was less implementation and more just cleanup work on that.
If Quaid was here, he could probably attest to it, because like in the last week of that project, Quaid basically didn't sleep or eat, actually. And he was just destroying himself to get done the Domino Dungeon, which I would say in many ways was probably like the most grueling part of this project.
Yeah. If you take any one single part of it, the Domino Dungeon and Quaid's devotion to everything, the game minus his life, that's definitely probably the most pain in the ass part of this whole thing.
Oh, okay. That's sort of the area right at the end of the game, right, with the boss fight.
No, the Domino Dungeon is the third level, the Zelda Dungeon.
Oh, the Zelda Dungeon. Sorry,
yes,
yeah.
That whole level.
I can imagine that was hell to work.
Yes.
Whose idea was that? Because that's my favorite level.
That was all Quaid.
That entire thing was Quaid. He was inspired by Mark Brown's Zelda Boss Keys series to create one of those maps. He came up with pretty much every mechanic in that dungeon, including pulling crates into holes, the platforms that would flip as they timer ticks. He textured the walls. He wrote the song.
Oh, wow.
This entire corner of the game was entirely carved out by him over a week of destroying his health for the sake of the project.
I have to say, I was so impressed by that dungeon because it felt very Zelda. I loved the central room with the sort of things just keep getting added to it so that you can progress further in the dungeon. It really felt like you had a great sense of progression, and keeping that central room as the key element of it was just so cool. I'd love to see more of that.
It's my favorite part of the game for sure.
Same.
Yeah.
It's something I've not really seen in a platformer before either. Like that depth of puzzle solving. I've never seen like a dungeon platformer before. It was so cool.
And it ended up being this thing. We definitely wanted it to be like the cap off for the core level progression. It got to the point where we were like, this thing is so much bigger and more complicated than our other levels. We need to like make sure people are prepared for it. That's why we have a character in there who tells you to come back later, because it requires so much knowledge of our mechanics. We wanted to make sure that people were comfortable enough to tackle it, because there's just so much you have to do in that level. It's really impressive how much is in it. It's kind of crazy.
And Quaid was intelligent enough like to make the first room skill check you on everything you need to do the rest of the dungeon.
Yeah, I noticed that because I ended up there first when I was playing, and I sort of bounced around a bit, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then I left, and I came back, and I was like, oh, I could have done this right at the start if I'd just known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that was the issue, is that Quaid's plans for it were so lofty.
Yeah.
And he spent so much time thinking about it without actually doing any work, just like conceptualizing, that it got to be like the last week and he hadn't even started actually producing it. And he just killed it, though. Like, killed himself, but he killed it.
He killed it and killed himself.
Metaphorically. What I always found amusing was that the reason this was a 1 month long game jam was because most game jams are a weekend or a week, and what that means is people grind. They grind and grind and grind to get a game out in an extremely short amount of time. They gave us a month so that we wouldn't have to grind and hurt ourselves so much. So instead of pacing out a game jam over a month, we just did a weekend game jam for an entire month and just grinded out the entire time.
On that note, so this game jam, did you get any kind of like renown from this? Did you win anything? Like, I haven't seen anything else from the game jam, so I don't know what you were up against, but what was the outcome?
I've been part of other communities that are similar to this website that hosted this one that have done game jams, and it's been like you get recognition and the people who run the site play it. This was a community run thing that they barely talked about. And I don't think, even to this day, the people who run the website have played our game. They've at least made mention of it, but I don't think they've ever played it. And our entry in that game jam was one of like 4 entries. And the size and scope of our thing did not fit the jam that we were a part of, which I always found really, really funny. It's tied to this thing that like no one really took part in and no one really saw until our game got more popular. It's always been really funny to me because the jam itself was not notable in like any way whatsoever.
Have Dominos ever contacted you about the game? Either to say like, this is cool, or why are you infringing our copyright, or something along those lines?
This is actually something interesting that Nick could have gone into. And I don't know how much can or should we have said or say about this stuff. I don't know. What are your...
We can say whatever we want. There was no agreement.
I mean, I guess that's true. You know, Nick worked on Strafe, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And so he has contacts with like Totino's because of their business deal with that game.
Mm-hmm.
And like, as far as I'm aware, at some point he managed to make a connection with Domino's corporate, like at some point. And the door was almost kind of opened that Yo Noid could become more and possibly even some kind of official representation or marketing. But the problem is we were also burnt out that we would have had to produce basically an entire pitch for them. And none of us had the energy to do it, basically. We were so sick of Noid and working on it and working on games every fucking waking moment that we were just like, you know, this is an awesome opportunity and this would be really cool, but none of us have the energy to do this right now.
No, I appreciate that. It's not worth your own mental health, I think, projects that you work on.
I really wanted to do it. I really did, but like, the energy just wasn't there. Like, whenever it came up, the entire team had a collective about it.
Yeah, I definitely remember that feeling, because I remember hearing about it myself and just being like, that sounds so cool. And like, it's insane that this is happening, but I'm just like, I kind of don't even want to look at this. I just want to, at least for a little bit, just move on and chill.
Yeah, I was kind of ready to go all in on it, frankly. I actually really wanted it to happen personally, but
So they're at least a little bit aware of it, even though nothing ever happened with it.
At one point, they were open to the idea of getting a pitch, and if our pitch was good, maybe it would have happened. That's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, that's basically it. But as far as I can tell, they certainly know about the game's existence, and they are just happy that they are getting free advertising, and they're just not bothering us. I don't think they're ever going to really give us any problems over it.
One of the things we were going to do for our pitch, though, because it was something that we noticed, was that every time someone would build the first section of the pizza tower, and they would walk up to it, and they'd see the texture, like the really crappy low-res PS1 texture, it still was appetizing enough that they would all say, man, I could go for some Domino's right now. And we were like, we need to leverage that. They're gonna want that in the game.
We have a compilation video of just streamer after streamer, person playing our game being like, man, Domino's, that sounds pretty good right now. Just mentioning the fact that we're advertising their company. We come through so many videos. We had a whole section of our like Discord being like, okay, any mentions you get that we can use for this thing, post them here.
So is there anything that you wanted to put in the game that didn't manage to make it in, or anything you'd rather have tweaked a bit to make it work better?
This relates back to one of our earlier discussions about being ahead of its time. An early concept we had was that the Noid was going to climb Assassin's Creed style towers in order to open up sections of the map. Because he was so ahead of his time, he invented the open world. And that's originally kind of what the Noid Void was going to be. And we ended up putting in one tower in the game, but it was not to the same effect.
The original pitch that I came up with was like, it was very much going to be in the style of Assassin's Creed. As Axel said, you're going to climb these towers. And the idea was you get to the top of the tower, and instead of like opening up the map to showing you different points of interest, you were instead opening up the ability to go to different like Domino's franchises nearby. Like that's what you were uncovering. And we also had an idea, Breath of the Wild style, where you were going to be able to shield surf on pizza boxes. That was also an early idea that we wanted to have happen. And it ended up not working into what the game ended up being. But that was an early idea very much, was like, you're going to be able to surf on a pizza box. It's going to be really awesome, just like Breath of the Wild. And climb these towers and find Domino's franchises.
Making an open world quickly was like, I don't know if we can do this. Because even the game as it is now, we were originally not going to have level select where you go through the warps to get to stages. We wanted it to all be like a coherent walk from A to B. We wanted all the levels to exist in like a single instance. Yeah, time just gets away from us, and we were all designing levels separately, and we would just realize, okay, we can't make this work. We just have to tie them together.
And I think in the end, having the Noid Void, which if people don't realize this, that's totally from the commercials, like the original Noid commercials. He exists in that space. That's what that's like modeled off of. I really enjoy that aspect of the game. It's one of my favorite parts, is having that tie back to the commercials in such a weird, specific way.
I had no idea. I never watched any of the Noid commercials. I probably missed out on countless bits of lore that was referenced in this game.
Down to like the stop signs and like the weird architecture that some of the like the Domino Dungeon entrance, like that little structure that pizza box lives in. That's all straight out of those commercials, which is just
wow.
My only exposure to the Noid was the DOS game Avoid the Noid, which I also wouldn't recommend.
That's also another funny thing, is that we turned Noid into this kind of like, he's still kind of an asshole, but he's kind of like endearing, when originally like the Noid actually kind of sucks. He's this evil little guy who makes your pizza suck, and like we've turned him into kind of this endearing character.
No, he's reformed. This is the character arc that we've had. Now he's a former bad boy.
This is the character arc that Yo Noid established. Like, the first Yo Noid was actually the basis. Like, thank God it expanded the lore so much, because that game gave us so much more to work with. Between, like, the Yo-Yo having Mr. Green as, like, a rival. The idea that the Noid was now this, like, hero who was saving New York's pizzas for whatever reason. Despite that, like, being the complete opposite of his character, that game went with that. And we realized that there was just so much more potential.
Because, like you said, the slogan for that character was literally "Avoid the Noid." He's not your friend, but here we are.
Yeah.
That brings up a good question, which is, who wrote this game? Did you all like collaborate on the various little bits of like dialogue in the game?
I did a lot of it. Cass She did most of that final dialogue with Mike that's just pun after pun after pun after pun.
Yeah, it's very good.
I really do love the pun.
She was incredibly proud of a lot of the jokes she wrote for the game.
Just the fact that his name is Mike Hatsune is great.
Well, what's good is there's actually an image you could already find online of this guy named Mike Hatsune. And it was already like this inside joke, just like the idea that Miku's dad is just out there. And it's just a person that you can just name Mike. And it just all clicked where we were like, I don't know, we have to do this.
Yeah, it did click. Like, the Hatsune Miku thing I had seen, and it was the one bit of obscure Domino's lore where I was like, I really hope this comes up. So I was so glad when it did.
I do want to make sure I give credit. A lot of people did, in fact, contribute random pieces of dialogue. Bretto Top wrote quite a bit. Levis wrote some. That's Levi.
Yeah, so much of it was us just sitting around, like, throwing puns at a wall and just laughing. And if we laughed, then it went in. Like,
whose idea was it to let you dab in dialogue sections as well? Because that's great. That just makes the dab so much better.
When we had the original dab idea, pretty much all of us unanimously said there should be no situation where you can't dab.
Yes.
I don't remember which one of us decided to extend that to the dialogue. We knew we wanted there to be no limitations to it. I can't remember the specific inception of like the light bulb of being like, wait, we should be able to do it in the dialogue scenes too. I don't remember who said that actually. I know it was part of our philosophy of the dab.
All I do remember is that when we were sitting around talking about this, whoever first said it made everyone in the room just die, like choking. Like they were all laughing so hard.
We knew that was going to be the thing.
Yeah. So we invested that time in making like the dialogue system. Asuka was writing it. He had to actually like plan for this feature from the get-go that you'd be able to do this. And we had to get all the art for every character to make sure you could dab.
Cool. Is there anything in terms of playtesting that you noticed the playtesters had a difficult time with, or people you've seen stream the game or play the game after it's come out that you thought, oh, maybe we could have signposted that better, or, you know?
Oh, I know. Pronouncing the word chutzpah.
There you go. The thing that I consistently see people have the most trouble with that personally irks me just because of how the entire thing came in pretty hot is during the final boss fight, flinging the dice at Mike. I noticed that some people get it right away and they have no issue whatsoever, but some people really struggle and basically the entire game halts during that boss fight because they just can't get it down.
I found it quite difficult, to be honest.
I think a lot of that comes down to A, there's being no setup to that mechanic. Like you have one thing right before the boss room that shows you can even do that. And B, a lot of people turn this off, but if you have the auto camera turned on, it makes that fight 100 times easier with the auto cam turned on because you're able to kind of follow him and spin the dice around at the same time. But I think that's the one thing that I would want to have paid more attention to. Because that whole final boss fight came in together really hot at the end. Like all the disparate parts were being worked on separately. And it kind of all got put together really, really close to the end.
Yeah, that boss fight was basically the last day of development, more or less. And I think it was the only time I've ever seen Asuka here, like, pull an all-nighter on anything.
And the boss fight ended up being one of my favorite. As the music came in, as Flux's animations came in, as the dialogue came in, because that's the only character that's voiced, like, full voice lines in the text. As all that came together at once, the first time that he like finished his dialogue, he says, "Let's dance." You close the dialogue, the music starts, and he floats above the boss fight. I'm like, okay, we did something really cool here. I really enjoy that whole sequence for what it is.
I really like the music in that sequence as well.
Oh, I love it.
We had a theory when I was streaming it about the dice blocks for the final boss as well. And we wondered, why aren't they actual dominoes? And is it just because they roll better, or is that not something that was discussed?
Yes. It's just because they roll better.
I remember we had many discussions about what those should actually be and what should be on them. It took us actually a long time to finally decide what those things were supposed to be and look like.
We were arguing because everyone was like, dice make no sense. Why would they be dice?
The only reason dice make any sense at all is because if you fold some dominoes, you can kind of make it look like dice. But other than that, like, there's no reason for them to be dice whatsoever.
Originally, the dice had the blue and red pips on the sides during really early releases of the game. But when people got to these dice and saw that, like, 4 of the sides were orange, but 1 was red and 1 was blue, they immediately just start rolling the dice so that all the red sides are up. And we're like, okay, we've given them too much information.
Right, okay. So people thought it was a puzzle rather than, like, what they're supposed to do with them.
Even then, people get to that part a lot in the game, and they just start like rotating the dice to make like 666 or to try and like spell something, and they're just like, nothing's happening.
We had a discussion about this earlier because to me it was intuitive that I throw it through the screen because it's a reference to that like advert from I don't know when it's from, right?
It's from 1984, but yeah, that ad is an Apple ad, totally.
Yeah, so we were talking about this earlier, and Katz didn't get the reference until I mentioned it. So I guess if you didn't know,
I'd seen the advert and I knew to throw the dice, but I just didn't put two and two together.
Because that's the reason I knew to do it. But I can imagine if you didn't sort of have that in the back of your head, then you might not realize.
If you're playing a game about the Noid, I think you've already been selected demographically that you'll be familiar with that advert.
I think the surprising and funny thing you'll find there is that I made that part and it was 100% unintentional. Like, I was fully aware of that advert. I had seen it, and maybe it was subconscious on some level, but I just needed some way to teach you how to use the dice. And there were already TV screens all over the stage, so I just put a big one and cracked it and figured people would think, oh, you can probably break this somehow to teach people. So, I don't know, things just kind of came together there. And literally everyone who plays that part brings up the commercial. And I'm like, okay, I mean...
Not only do they bring up the commercial, that commercial lets them know immediately what they're supposed to do.
No, just act like you intended all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really clever.
I mean, it works really well because, like, such a happy accident that people get there and they just know what to do without, like, completely not by my own merit.
Conveyance is difficult. You don't know until someone who's never seen your game before sits down and tries to play it that you've made a bad assumption. Pretty much both instances of the pineapple character were added after the fact to make things clearer that we didn't make clear. That you had to grapple the bottom of the rocket, and that the Domino Dungeon was meant to be the final level, not something you're supposed to walk straight into because we made it the easiest one to find.
Yeah.
That was a terrible thing, that rocket.
The rocket.
Yeah.
We thought we had made it clearer that like the bright orange is our grapple signifier, so we had a ring around the bottom of the rocket that was bright orange. But like pretty much no one ever picked up on that. They would all like sit there for way longer than we wanted them to.
Whatever you did to fix it, definitely I managed to do it without thinking too hard about it. So I think I talked to the character a couple of times beforehand, though.
It incepted the idea that you had to do the bottom because the character mentions it directly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pineapple didn't exist in the first release. But we quickly like added that in one of kind of more quiet updates. And so it pretty quickly became part of the game.
Great. Okay. Have you got any more questions, Kat?
No, I mean, I was going to ask if there's anything that's been burning you guys up that you want people to know about the game, but otherwise I'm all out.
What's something that no one's figured out yet? Should we even bring it up if there's something exists?
Leave it as a mystery forever.
I think someone did discover something recently about the music in the game.
Ah, yeah, that is something someone actually realized.
We have an inside joke that boils down to a 6-note melody. It sounds something like ba-da-da-da-da-da, and we basically snuck that into every single song in the game somewhere. And people have only just recently found that it's basically all over the game.
I should be looking for that. That's what you're telling me. I should be looking for clues. Maybe it means something. Maybe it's a ciphered message. I'll find out.
The only other thing I guess I want to ask is, are you guys planning to make another game, maybe not Noid, because obviously you've not really got the rights to him, but something with the same mechanics? Because I really like it. I would want to play more of this. And, you know, I don't care if it's Noid or not, but I want to play something that's got these mechanics again, because I love it. And that Zelda dungeon especially. If you made a whole game that was like that, I'd be down for that.
The good news is we're always making something. The bad news is we can't promise anything right now. Lots of stuff just never comes to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, we're a creative group and we love working together, but like our lives are all very disparate these days and it's hard to like pull things together.
The inception of Noid was very much, everything came together at just the perfect time. It was the middle of the summer and we were all just sitting around, we had nothing to do. We all came together and a lot of the people on that team, like we said before, had never even done any game dev whatsoever. Some of us are super experienced at it, others were not so much. But yeah, like they said, we're always just like working on stuff. We like collaborating, and it's just that was such a happy accident of like everyone's timing just coming together. It was pretty cool.
Did you ever check out the game that at least a small handful of the developers made for another game jam?
It's a very different game. It's not the same thing at all. But we made a small game called Breakpoint for a different game jam, and that was just kind of a fun side project. The majority of the work on that project was Quaid and Sam, and I did a little bit of help with the art. That's
cool.
Yeah.
Where's the best place to find you guys if I want to look at your upcoming projects? Have you got a website or like a team name or anything that we can follow?
The credits of that game have all of our social media.
The best place is probably to look at the credits for Yo Noid, and it links to all of our respective places.
Our Twitters, our Itch.ios, and again, we're all creative people, and I'd like to hope that we'll continue to produce things of some sort.
Great.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us.
Yeah,
I'm really glad we could talk about this game in a public capacity.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I heard someone wanted to interview us, and everyone was like, dude, you should come do this. I'm like, that sounds super fun and awesome and kind of weird, so I'm thankful that you guys wanted to come talk to us.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all very much, and look forward to seeing what you guys are doing in future.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
very
much.
Okay. So long, I guess. It's time for the gaming news, and I'm doing it this week because it's boring when Specs does it. No offense.
It's just too long.
He's right. He's right.
So basically what I've done is I've replaced the news with bullshit that my mate Joe sent me from Twitter.
Right.
Oh, I want to read a tweet from Tony Hawk.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. You love Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk Watch, here we go.
I feel like this is Tony Hawk Watch now. At rental car agency. Can't find my name on the monitor to find my car. Go inside and wait in line. Finally get to the front. Agent sees me and says, "You really are Tony Hawk." Yeah, I say. I was looking for my name on the list. And he says, "I deleted it because I thought it was fake."
Tony Hawk doesn't deserve this shit, man.
Tony Hawk gets a lot of shit, especially from us.
No, I love you, Tony Hawk.
Poor Tony.
Hey, Pro Skater 2 is fucking awesome. He'll always have that.
Yeah, Pro Skater 2 is a genuine... You don't get, like, score attack games like that anymore. And I'm really sad. I think the whole model of, like, here's a level, here's things you can do in the level that get you points, and you have to just do lots of them in a time limit. I wish that would come back. There have been, like, a few games that tried to, like, apply it to other genres. Like, there was a...
50 Cent Blood on the Sand.
50 Cent Blood on the Sand doesn't quite do that.
It does, no. You've got a genuine score going through the level. You get score multipliers for the way you kill people and whether or not you're swearing at them after they die. It is all score attack, and you get graded at the end of the level.
No, I mean, fair enough. There was a game called, I think The Crew or something, where it was like a pure Tony Hawk style thing, where you had like a certain number of minutes, and you're in like an FPS environment, and you had to do like specific things to get... I think Burnout did...
The Crew is a driving game.
Oh, well, it was called something.
There was another one very, very similar.
It was called something bland like that.
The Club, maybe.
The Club.
Remember.
You find me in the club.
Look,
No, you might find me in the bum, mate.
It was 2007, and that's just how things were.
There was we actually discussed a similar game recently. Bulletstorm does exactly the same thing.
Does it?
You're right. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's got a points system where you can, the more like things you string together in a quick amount of time, the higher your points multiplier gets.
And the idea is to do more brutal kills, so you get extra points for stuff like kicking people into cactuses. You get points for like launching people into the air and then trap shooting them, and you can like slam one guy on the ground to launch all the enemies around him. So for each enemy you'll kill while they're in the air, you get extra points. Like contextual kills with, like I said, the cactus. You get extra points for headshots, slicing people in half, stuff like that.
But
there's like hundreds of like combos like that in that game. It's a real treat.
My problem is though, unless the game is like built around the grading system, like say Trackmania is, I won't care about it. Like Trackmania is really fun in like going through the levels again and again to get the grade up and get the next medal and unlock more levels. But if it's just something like Devil May Cry, where at the end of the level the game tells me I suck, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to move on. Does anybody have any opinions on like the whole like BioWare anthem thing, or can we skip it?
I did want to talk a little bit about just how much of a train wreck that's been. I feel we owe it to the listeners to talk about train wrecks since we spent so much time talking about the train wreck that was Fallout 76. So Anthem had teething problems in beta. From what I heard, people couldn't access the beta until like after the day it came out or something, so it was pointless that they even paid for the beta access. The game reviewed badly. It's got something like a 55 on Metacritic, similar to Fallout 76. There's just a lot of balance problems in the game that I've heard about. Like, the starting gun you get is more powerful than the elite tier best weapons in the game because of the way damage scales, and you do more damage if you have less armor on as well because of the way damage scales. It sounds like it's very poorly put together and balanced. There was also the whole thing about consoles potentially bricking when people were playing Anthem. I think it was on PS4. I don't think there were any reports on Xbox One, but the Anthem team and EA came out and said, no, nobody actually had their consoles bricked, but there were a lot of consoles that would just shut off randomly in the middle of the game, or the game would crash and sort of make it so you had to turn off and on the game at the plug as well. So yeah, it doesn't sound like it was going too well at release.
I haven't heard anybody like mention Anthem since like the last time we did a podcast, and this game's been out for what, like 2 months, something like that.
Yeah,
and so that's really bad. Like, it just kind of I didn't think it would just like die like this. Like, I haven't heard anybody talk about it, and for a game that's like supposed to be like a big community like Destiny, it's like, this is really bad, and I worry for BioWare.
Yeah, I feel like rather than a train wreck, this one's just kind of ground to a halt and is rusting on the tracks, whereas Fallout 76 tried to multi-track drift and just like flipped head over arse and crashed at the bottom of a mountain.
I almost feel like it's better to be in the Fallout 76 situation, because at least you're still like in the news. Like, people, I don't know, like Anthem is just dead and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, true.
It's like the whole like bad, like all press is good press type of thing.
There was an article put out, I think, by Kotaku, that was a piece of investigative journalism, where it was reported that actually the game wasn't supposed to be called Anthem. It was supposed to be called Beyond, but they couldn't get the copyright for it, and they only found out that they couldn't get the trademark or copyright just before they announced it at E3, like a week or two before. So they already had loads of shirts printed with like the name Beyond on it and stuff that they were going to come out in at E3, and then they were like, nope, pull the plug, we need to call it something else. What do we call it? And they had to retroactively change the story to fit the word anthem, because the game's about like the anthem of nature or something that's part of this planet, but they had to kind of engineer that.
I think they had it already in the plot, but it was like one of their like secondary backup names that they didn't really like. But
it was just really bad kind of direction from the people higher up. Like, they weren't sure what they wanted the game to be, and they knew that they wanted it to be something that rivaled Destiny, but everyone in the company was told, don't mention Destiny. We don't want to talk about Destiny. We're going to be better than Destiny, but don't mention it. Don't mention what Destiny does right, because we're going to do our own thing, because it's not going to be Destiny, even though that's clearly what they wanted to do.
Like the
it just sounds like a really bad, just bad planning. Like, if you want to make a competitor something, you have to analyze what that game does well and what it doesn't do well, and how you can build upon it or do a different spin on it.
The piece on Kotaku was very interesting.
Yeah, it was really good, actually. Really well written. And I think, like, there's lots of people... Sorry, I've interrupted you.
All right, don't worry.
Working in the game industry who really need to unionize, but just haven't.
Yeah, they haven't. It was originally going to be like a survival game. Like a multiplayer instance survival game where you could, like, go pretty much... like, more open world than it is at the moment, which is more of an instance thing where you go to a certain area of the world and you do stuff there. Yeah. But like they didn't originally plan it as like a loot 'em up, if that makes sense. If that's the genre we're going to call it.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the original pitch for the game was really interesting. It was like this big world with all of this stuff going on that's like much bigger and more important than the players. Yeah. And the players kind of have to just like eke out like a living in that world. Kind of like the premise for something like Rain World. So not like a survival game, air quotes, as in like get the thing, craft, get the other thing, craft the other thing. Like actually having more of an idea of like what survival is like as a concept. But no, it turned into a loot 'em up. And this is my other big problem with these things, which is I don't want games to be a service. I just want to buy the game and have it.
Yep.
That's all I've ever wanted. I don't own a single game as a service. If I want to go back and play Gex 2, Enter the Gecko, I can. But even if somebody wanted to go back and play Anthem in like 5 years, they probably couldn't.
Yeah. But there was so much that went wrong with Destiny, like on the management level. Like they struggled to get resources from EA to like help with the Frostbite engine because EA basically prioritized FIFA and its sports franchises for that. So you couldn't get support time from the people who knew the engine because it was being used by shit like FIFA.
Well, there's some fucking management fucker who doesn't understand game development at EA going like, oh, everything needs to run on Frostbite. Frostbite.
Yeah. They struggled to get lots of the basic stuff that they wanted to do in Frostbite. They took flying out of the game like 3 or 4 times. They had it in and then they took it out again. Like really, really ridiculous stuff. It's interesting that they managed to get it to work at all, to be honest with you.
It's all because EA doesn't want to license engines anymore. They're like, oh, we've got Frostbite, and it was designed for a first-person shooter. It's not designed to run, they've got it going for their sports games now and for Anthem, and apparently it was really difficult just to get it working as a third-person game.
They struggle to get saving to work as a thing. Like, they struggle to get that to work, something as basic as that's required. Like, you have issues at that point, like, if you can't even do that. So, but it just looked like it was a complete car crash from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
Some poor fucker of a game developer is like, well, I gotta work 100-hour weeks because I don't have a union just to put this piece of corporate garbage out that people will talk about disparagingly on obscure podcasts and then forget about a year later.
Yep.
So I've just been on the matchmaking for Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed and it works, so I don't know why I thought that. Someone definitely told me that a couple of weeks ago, but we should play that sometime all together.
I want to talk about the next bit of news now and not let this one drag on for any longer. And it's not really news, but someone found this video in a Nintendo press kit for the new Nintendo Labo stuff that's coming out.
I've seen this.
I will dub in the audio, but basically it's somebody pumping up their Toad.
Toad is really into it.
Someone is bringing Toad all the way to orgasm.
What the fuck?
Oh my god, this is amazing! I love that.
That's the kind of thing that should be in WarioWare.
Yes.
Right there.
Pumping up the Toad.
We're never getting another WarioWare, are we?
We'll get another WarioWare.
We just got one like a year ago.
I was going to say we did recently just get one.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was on the 3DS, but it exists.
Doesn't count.
Oh yeah.
Release some WarioWare on the 3DS.
Whoever does Toad's voice is pretty great at grunting, I gotta say. Tremendous grunter.
Give me your best Toad.
If they did Wario Labo set with shit like this, I would buy that for that WarioWare game.
Oh god, wouldn't we all?
And you had to like strap on the robot backpack to do. Oh, that would be fucking great.
WarioWare always does well with whatever Nintendo's gimmick is.
Yeah.
No. WarioWare on Wii U didn't do very well.
It's okay.
That
It's
wasn't
not
an actual WarioWare game, to be fair. That was like a weird minigame collection thing.
It wasn't even technically WarioWare. It was called Game and Wario.
Yeah. I'm not counting that one. But like, even when like the original Wii controllers before they had the Motion Plus kind of suck, but WarioWare Smooth Moves on the Nintendo Wii is a great game.
Very good.
One of the best.
completely works within those limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Someone remember WarioWare Twisted? It was like a Game Boy Advance game which had the thing from like Kirby Tilt and Tumble in it. And it was like, that was like the input, the primary input from the game was just rotating your Game Boy Advance.
How many people here have played the latest WarioWare game, the one on the 3DS?
Not
played it.
It's fucking good because it's basically 3 sets of WarioWare games.
Ooh.
Because it's all, I think it's like most, if not all, of the mini games from several of them, including Twisted. So you've got 3 main modes of play. One is the touch screen, which I think is basically it's games like Smooth Moves. One of them is Twisted.
Oh, it's WarioWare Gold.
Might just be button.
Isn't this one just like a compilation
It's
game
a compilation,
thing?
Yes. But it's fucking good. I mean, like, what's wrong with a compilation of fucking good WarioWare games? I don't know.
I mean, fair enough. They did one with Rhythm Head and stuff, so, you know.
I had WarioWare DIY on the DS as well, and I remember making a couple of WarioWare minigames in that, and one of them was having to repel a ball of lightning back at Ganondorf, and then he vomited if you did it correctly, like at the end of Ocarina of Time.
Nice.
Can I give a rant about Google Stadia?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about Google Stadia.
I forgot about it because it's so unmemorable. I don't give a shit.
So Google basically announced that they were going to make OnLive. And I ran the numbers on this. So basically the idea of Google Stadia is you don't own your games. They exist in some cloud somewhere. And instead of just buying them and playing them, you rent computation and internet from some server somewhere and the game gets streamed to you. I/O latency with like a decent mouse is about 1 to 2 milliseconds. The latency in like processing the input and then rendering the next frame based on that input on a decent computer is about 1.5 frames, so it's about 25 milliseconds. That's if you've got like the most basic level of vertical synchronization. Computer monitors tend to be like 10 or 20 milliseconds, and smart TVs can be like really bad, but most TVs are like 20 to 40 milliseconds, I'm going to say. So the total input latency is maybe 35 to 70 milliseconds. But with Google Stadia, the data has to first go all the way to Google's servers in a CDN or in a data center somewhere, and it has to come all the way back. And for me, at least, that takes an average of about 45 milliseconds. I'm not sure if that's going to a more local CDN or the big Google data center in Dublin, which is the one that serves most of the UK. I would assume it's going to a more local CDN in like Manchester or something. So they would have to put, to get that level of latency, they would have to put like their Stadia servers in, for example, Manchester. I'm in Leeds for reference. Come find me, dox me, hunt me down.
The city of a billion tears.
The city of a billion tears. Leeds will kill you before you kill me, you internet fucker. You won't last 5 minutes there. Anyway, 45 milliseconds for the round trip, and then you've got to encode the video. So decoding video is so fast now, it's basically free, but encoding it is kind of a pain in the ass. And if you've got like a high-end server that's running this game, chances are it'll probably be the way like OBS does it, which is real time on like a really low quality preset. So you're looking at adding an extra frame basically because it's real-time encoding. So you render one frame and then it takes another frame to encode that frame. So basically what I'm saying is the total input lag you're getting, assuming all that, just from Google Stadia is like 62 milliseconds, which means that there's more lag just from Google Stadia than there is probably from your mouse, your monitor, and your computer put together. And I found this thing on Itch.io, which I will link in the show notes, but it's basically like an input lag simulator.
And
so if you're curious as to how Google Stadia might feel, go and put 62 milliseconds in that and see how it plays. And let me tell you, it plays like garbage.
Okay, so I've got some experience with using streamed video games because we use Parsec a lot for like co-streaming because it's the quickest thing for co-streaming now, and also for co-oping couch co-op games over the internet. Parsec.tv, if anyone wants to look it up, is actually quite good.
Yeah, Parsec's pretty good.
And is Stadia not going to have about the same amount of latency as Parsec, would you say?
I mean, it might have less latency if Google have access to more data centers and
that's what I'm thinking.
Technology than Parsec. However,
Parsec works well enough for most games that I wouldn't mind it, actually.
Parsec does not work well enough for most games. Like,
I think Parsec, for the games that I've played on Parsec, which are like not taking too seriously kind of fun party games, so that kind of stuff, like not being great at it doesn't matter. But when it's like a single player experience, like you're trying to play like a game where you're trying to do well, I don't think will work as well.
The game that's the most fast paced that I've played on it is Enter the Gungeon, which is it's not quite a bullet hell, but it's getting towards that. And I have a friend I play Enter the Gungeon with exclusively over Parsec quite often, and we don't have too many issues with it, to be honest. So I think it's good enough for, I wouldn't say a rhythm game, definitely, because you really need to make sure you reduce latency on a rhythm game. But for something as fast-paced as Gungeon, I'd say it's fine.
It depends on the input method as well, because if you're doing something with mouse aiming with input latency, it gets worse than if you were just, say, running around in a top-down game.
Okay, if that's worse than controller, then I guess... Yeah, and I suppose if it's rendering all of the stuff as your field of view changes, then it's probably going to be worse. Didn't think about the graphical impact.
So anyway, I will be very interested, because I was actually an early adopter of OnLive, and by that I meant I got an OnLive game for free, because they were just giving them out because nobody would play it. And tried it, and it was so fucking terrible. And internet speeds haven't really gotten any faster since OnLive was a thing in most places, especially in the US, which is presumably where it's going to land first. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if they somehow magic some way to make it actually work. But
what have they've said what your limit, what your lowest sort of internet speeds have to be for it to work, haven't they? And I think it's more than most people are going to have.
Have they said anything about like the price model and like the general like how it works? I mean, like basically all we know about it, right, is that you play games over the internet. But does that mean like you have to rent specific games, or is it just like a monthly thing?
I don't think they've said. I think they'll probably do both. So they'll likely have a model where you pay a subscription fee and you get a set of games for a month, or potentially for life as long as you stay subscribed. And then if you want specific games, you'll have to pay extra for those. So apparently approximately 25 megabits per second internet speed are going to be the lowest that you need for Stadia.
Yep.
Yeah,
which is
that's pretty a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's better than like worst grade fiber you can get, I think. So you need an at least serviceable fiber internet connection.
Like, there's lots of fiber packages, at least over here, that advertise that they run at that speed.
But they
don't, Richard Branson, you shit.
I can confirm that Virgin Media is shite.
I hate him so much. I hate his trains. I hate his stupid face, and I hate his hobby of picking up women. not
lifting them.
I know what he means.
Metaphorically, just literally lifting them up.
Yeah. Apparently, one of the ways they're reducing lag, isn't it that they've got some sort of internet pass-through from the game's controller itself, so that it ignores your computer. And it doesn't have to go through two things. Yeah, it goes straight to the router.
But, like, that's only going to get rid of extra lag in terms of, like, when you've got your controller hooked up to your computer, there's probably 2 milliseconds of lag in there from that connection.
Yeah.
That's gone, but you still have the however many milliseconds of lag connection from the controller to the Google Stadia wireless router or whatever. So, in reality, they've It's not that they've saved anything; they've just not doubled it.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting from this entire segment is we should all move back to like wired shit and CRTs, basically.
Definitely.
Is that what you're saying?
Definitely.
I mean, you didn't
Definitely.
need. You already felt that way, Moogle.
I
so
did already feel that way.
You've
This is
learnt
true.
nothing. You've learnt
And
nothing.
from this, I have learnt nothing.
Moogle.
I have
Actually.
experienced a hollow victory.
If anything, you've just been kind of vindicated. Really,
I have.
That's
really,
all
haven't
that's
I?
happened.
And we all know that 4-3 is the one true
Shut-
resolution.
Shut.
4-3, not whatever that weird thing that the SNES had. 8-7, yeah.
8-7.
8-7, lad.
Moogle, what does CRT stand for?
Cathode ray tube.
Cathode rays.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know that you were memeing, but that doesn't matter.
It's not
Cathode.
actually that bad. if you-
Chode.
Cathode is only 2 letters away from chode.
I'm
Not wrong,
pretty
lass.
sure.
You're not wrong.
wow.
Maybe it is, yeah.
If you shortened cathode, it would be a chode.
Mate, if you're playing at a 4:3 aspect ratio, it's already a chode.
Hey!
Chode ray
Should we move
monitors.
on?
Yeah.
Chode
I was just going to
rage.
say, you probably won't have that much trouble as long as you just buy a decent monitor with a low response time, or fucking don't buy a fucking smart TV that puts a bunch of shitty ass filters over the top of Spyro
Yeah.
the Dragon.
Or at least get one that has low response time in game mode, because you can get those. And
Yep.
they're good. Like, they work
Fucking
fine.
smart TVs shouldn't have been invented.
It was a mistake to buy a smart TV, but it fits so nicely into my little hole in the wall, so...
You're part of the problem.
I
I
like
am.
my smart TV. It's my friend.
Catsman,
Yes.
will you indulge me with the news section? Just at least one. I've got a good one.
Yes, but first I'm going to post this picture of a biblical scene depicting a Lego woman giving birth.
Oh!
I
We've
like
talked about
this.
this before.
I'm alt tabbed at the moment, but let's fucking
Is that
look at
meant to
this.
be a baby?
Maybe.
Why has he got
That's
hair?
her placenta
A full head of
coming
hair.
out.
No.
Whoa.
Is the man
Oh yeah, that's the
meant
baby.
to be a baby?
But
I
we talked
did
about
notice
this
that.
like ages ago. The Lego Bible. The Hitler was
We
in it.
talked about Lego Bible,
Oh,
definitely.
shit, yeah.
But I haven't seen this scene.
I think this is a different Lego Bible because the Bible's public domain, so there's probably quite a lot of them.
Right.
Okay.
Go on, tell me the actual
My
thing.
news.
Specs.
My news. So, the voice actor for one of the characters from Yakuza, or Judgment, the new Yakuza game that's not a Yakuza game, has been arrested for cocaine use. And this has led to the Yakuza team having to replace this character's model and voice actor in its entirety because otherwise it would harm sales of the game, the fact that they'd be associated with a criminal. Now, that's not the fun part. The fun part is that this guy is also the voice actor for the snowman from Frozen.
No,
Hey,
what?
lad.
He was having a different kind of snow, if you know what I mean. So I'm wondering if they're also going to have to redo the whole of Kingdom Hearts 3 in Japanese, at least the
God.
voice acting, because this guy obviously would harm the brand, and the Frozen brand as well. They're just going to have a different voice actor for Frozen 2 in Japan, I presume.
Is he not literally a criminal in the not Yakuza game anyway?
I
Yeah, but
presume he would
Yakuza
be, yeah.
has this
but...
weird thing of like, oh, we're all honorable criminals and we obey a very, very strict set of rules, and
And cocaine isn't one of them.
yeah, cocaine is not included whatsoever. It's just a lot of beer and ramen noodles.
I mean, I doubt they would redo Kingdom Hearts 3 because that game's already out, isn't it? Like, it's not like they're gonna...
I think
Stop
Judgment was
Kingdom
already
Hearts-
out too.
Stopped Kingdom Hearts 3.5. Let's go back, remake the whole of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. I mean, can't they just release a patch though?
No.
Yeah.
Could I give you guys some context, by the way, for the cocaine thing? The mangaka for Rurouni Kenshin got caught with child porn in like 2012, and he's already back to making Rurouni Kenshin. So
Oof.
We'll see
Also,
what
I
happens.
don't know what that is.
Yeah, what's Rurouni Kenshin? The
Oh,
only
right,
other
you go.
fun thing I've got, if you want another fun one, Activision Blizzard is paying its employees to track data on their pregnancies and on their periods. So
What?
Female employees at Activision Blizzard get paid $1 a day to track data on their periods with a specific period tracker app and to track their pregnancies.
Question, is that $1 a day only when menstruating, or is that just every day?
That would make all the difference.
I mean, that makes the difference. We talked about this a little bit, and I'm like, why do they want that information? Because my perception of it would be like an attempt to use it against you in like a healthcare, like insurance kind of situation, because the states are fucking weird with women or like people with wombs, and like, you know. But I don't know. I'd take an extra $30 a month.
Anytime any company wants any of your information, it's because they're planning to use it against you in the future.
As someone who doesn't currently have to worry about like health insurance, how are they going to use that against me?
So, reading into it, I think it's only for people who are trying to get pregnant, actually. So the article says, for over a year, Activision Blizzard offers $1 a day in gift cards to employees using it. The app allows women...
Gift cards!
Oh, never mind.
The app allows women attempting to conceive to record numerous personal details from when they begin trying to conceive through pregnancy and after birth. This includes sleep schedule, diet, weight, as well as when they have sex, their mood, and the appearance of their cervical fluid.
Fucked up. Too much information.
That's
also
impressive.
This can be used as like a maternity leave thing as well. This is dodgy. I didn't realize they wanted like that much information. Like they want to know when you're having like sex and stuff.
It's got to be for like so they can try and fleece you on maternity leave.
Yeah, 100%.
Hold on, don't put it in yet. I've got to text my boss.
I like the idea as well that like you go through the whole thing and then they're like, okay, here's however many dollars worth of Borders book vouchers.
Yeah. You can spend this in the M&S food section.
I think one of the women who's sort of talked about the fact that she's doing this has said, you know, that's money towards products for my baby.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually vouchers for things like baby care, like, you know, clothes.
What's their reasoning for wanting this information? What are they like saying to justify having it?
They cite that they want to track the health of their employees to see what they can do to make their pregnancy easier for them.
So are they taking no. Are they taking information from like men who are trying to kind of have a kid with someone, or like people with penises trying to have a kid with someone, like how often they're jacking off?
Don't think so.
Because they should be, if that's their reasoning.
So one of the tops at Blizzard has said, I want them to have a healthy baby because it's great for our business experience. This man's
I love it,
business experience?
Loving every laugh.
Rather than having a baby who's in the neonatal ICU where she's not able to focus much on work.
There you go. There it fucking is. There it fucking is. That's everything.
We want to make sure people's babies are healthy so that they come back to work sooner.
So that they don't spend time with their babies.
I like that this man's name is Ezzard as well. He works for Blizzard and his name is Ezzard.
No Doug Bowser though,
Blizzard.
Not even slightly Doug Bowser, mate.
Nah. He tried though. He's the Aldi version.
The Aldi version, the Lidl version.
The Lidl version,
Aldi are better than Lidl, it's the Lidl version.
He's the Lidl version of
I
Doug
fucking hate
Bowser.
bosses so much.
Yeah.
God damn.
Especially the ones that you're meant to lose against. Haha. It's a bit of video game humour for you there, gamers, fellow gamers.
Let me write that down for my webcomic.
So that's it for fun news. I just want to say that Danuba.
Oh, that's the fun news?
That's the fun news.
That was kind of depressing, but okay.
Extremely depressing.
I thought it was quite entertaining.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, wait, no, I've got one more. Plague Inc. has added anti-vaxxers
perk
to the game.
I saw this. So fucking good.
Finally, we'll get into Madagascar with the measles.
Do you want to talk about the Energizer Thick Boy?
What?
I haven't heard about this, but I'm interested.
Is this phone that's got like a massive battery on it or something?
Yes, it is, Moogle, my friend. Yes, it is. It's got a 50-day battery life, and they're calling it the Thick Boy. I just like that that's what it's called.
It looks like a calculator that I had.
They spelled thick, though. Wrong, though.
2 C's. Needs 2 C's.
They're not sexualizing their telephone. That's too big.
That is a unit. Like,
well,
wow.
if you want 50-day battery life,
I don't
You
need
know?
50-day battery.
Well, someone obviously does.
I need like 2 days. That's fine by me.
In awe of the size of this lad.
I mean, as we should be.
Look, that's a publicity stunt, but I genuinely think they should make phones just like twice as thick.
I'd
and
definitely go for a phone that's twice as thick.
Put some extra ports on there, and also a larger battery, and maybe a few other nice little amenities that you could have.
I miss flip phones.
Oh, glad.
Dude, flip phones are cool.
I've got my Motorola Razr somewhere in the house. It's fucking legendary.
Hello, Moto.
Glad I missed that from my life for a long, long time.
Just the attitude of hanging up on someone with a snap.
Yeah.
It's incomparable.
It's not as good as the. No, sorry, it's just better than the swipe, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
oh, swipe.
just slap
Nah,
it shut.
flip.
Just slap it shut. And they get to hear the...
What people should do is make phones completely damage-proof and really like spongy and rubbery, so they bounce. So when you want to hang up on someone, you can just slam it into the floor and then catch it again.
No specs, because if they do that, then any prodding fingers will just bounce off. Didn't they actually make a bendy phone?
Yeah.
I
What
don't
happened
think
to that?
anyone made it intentionally.
There was like a no. There was a prototype for like flexible screens.
Oh, right.
I think
yeah,
it's still in development.
It's still in development because that was a really cool concept.
It's going to be like $2,000.
Yeah, and there was another
Well,
one
no,
where you
it-
could like fold it, like fully
Oh
fold
yeah, the
it.
Samsung one,
No,
right?
Yeah.
and they're not going to make phones out of it at all because they want to sell you new phones here later after you break it. So
True.
Break it.
Yeah.
phones that don't break are pretty.
They're not
are
Technology's
not
there, I'm
business
sure,
investment.
but they don't want to do it, so they buy 4 phones.
Sad.
Well, no, I
It'd be
mean,
so
phone operating systems still have like planned obsolescence on them, though. Like,
Yeah, even if the physical model was like gonna keep working, it's the
I have an Android phone, and every update to Android, it gets slower. So it's not unique to iOS. They do it on Android as well, and they do it deliberately.
I'm there now.
Microsoft Windows works the same way, but of course you can just reinstall, so it's not 100% the same. Anyway, I want to talk about another facet of ethical capitalism now.
Oh.
This is a segment on Garfield Eats. So the story behind this one is that a YouTube video about Garfield Eats kept being recommended to me. I guess just because the algorithm knows what I'm like now. So I want to send you this URL. Please have a look at it. It's garfieldeats.com. The reason it's popular again is because a new Garfield Eats just opened up in Canada somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where, but I know 2 people who live in Canada, and I'm hoping
It's playing me music.
I'm hoping I can cajole at least one of them into going to the Garfield Eats restaurant. So from Garfield Eats, you can get... Oh, shit, that's a lot of fucking elevator music.
God.
You can get pizza shaped like Garfield's head.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
You can get lasagna, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get a coffee called a Garfuccino.
What constitutes a Garfuccino?
There's lasagna in it.
It's
Got orange in it, mate.
And like
You can
those
only
are
drink
the,
it in your left hand.
those are the only things on the menu. The tagline for Garfield Eats is "Love me, feed me, don't leave me," which is just over dramatic in my opinion. And the whole website is plastered with, what's the word that the guy invented? Entergaging. So
Entergaging.
Garfield is entergaging. Entergagement. So the idea is that the Garfield Eats app, you can order Garfield pizza on it. You can play Garfield themed AR games, and you can buy and watch Garfield books, and also that Garfield TV series that they made in the 80s.
I remember that. They used to show it on telly all the time. It's got an awful intro song. Find the intro song and fucking play it.
Maybe I will.
Garfield and Friends is what it was called.
I had a friend who actually liked the TV show. She owned one of the DVDs as a child.
Oh, God.
Not watching the Heathcliff TV show.
We should watch the Heathcliff TV show when we go to Mitch's.
Heathcliff fucking talks in it, which is sacrilege.
Awful.
Anyway, yeah, so this company lists Garfield as its chairman. And the whole thing is just this bizarre, like, follow Garfield on Instagram, like, broken English, auto-scrolling, weird AR games that are basically just your camera output, but with Garfield superimposed onto them. The guy never stops using the word entergaging. You can get a Garfield comic printed onto the side of your Garfuccino cup. Oh, and the container for the food transforms into another container for the same food. And the website is like, this is really eco-friendly because you can then use that container to store a different bit of food.
Oh yeah, it says here the pizza boxes convert to plates and lasagna boxes into tissue boxes.
No,
I'm not gonna put tissues in my box that have lasagna in it.
I like the idea that you fucking eat a lasagna out of a box and then transform the box into a tissue box, and then presumably you have to find a way to acquire tissues without them already coming in a box.
I like the concept of eating lasagna the way you pull tissues out of a box, like by the sheet, you pull it out and just slurp it down.
That's the problem though, because I've got the tissue box on the one side, I've got the lasagna box on the other side. What if I accidentally eat the tissue and blow my nose on the lasagna?
Lasagna tends to be orange, so you'd know which hand it was going to be in.
It's true. I need to find the nearest location right now and go.
There's only two. One of them is in Canada and one of them is in Dubai.
Fuck!
What's it doing in Dubai?
People in Dubai love Garfield.
Why?
They have too much money.
That's a question you could ask about people anywhere.
Oh, it's in Toronto? I think that's not far. That's like not that far.
Please, if you can get it delivered. Oh, if anyone listening to this can get a Garfield pizza delivered to them and give me a review, I'll pay for your pizza.
And a copy of Bad Rats.
But I won't pay for your Garfuccino.
You can't get it delivered. You gotta go to like the establishment and get like the full experience.
I don't know. I don't know if it's an actual restaurant. I'm pretty sure it's just like delivery. So.
Oh, it made it sound like it was like an actual like restaurant. I guess not. Okay.
I don't. Well, it's hard to tell because the website spends so long just waffling about bizarre crap. But I don't think it's a restaurant.
The worst thing about the website is it plays that horrible music at full volume and it won't let me mute the tab. Like, I have never not been able to mute a tab in Chrome before. It doesn't let you mute it? No, it doesn't let me mute the tab.
I can mute the tab, but the website auto-scrolls for me, and it automatically scrolls to random bits every 1 second. So...
Oh, yeah, I can see why Google recommended this to you, Catsman. It's very Catsman core.
You could... Is this...
Catsman core.
I'm trying to scroll to the bottom, but it keeps scrolling up, but Is that a Bitcoin? Can you pay for a Garfield pizza with Bitcoin? I think you might be able to.
I need to send this to everyone I know.
Tell them not to wear headphones.
Check it out, garfieldeats.com.
Alright. Anyone want to talk about any other news, or are we done? Good. Moving on. Quiz. All right, so we'll have Wooly and Moogle as team captains again because that seemed to work out all right last time. If you guys are still happy, so I'm going to flip a coin. Wooly, you got to choose the head fall last time. So Moogle, choose a head fall. Do you want the Tesco side or head side?
Tesco side every time. Always bet on Tesco.
It got a bad bounce. Hold on. Oh no, it's the non-Tesco side. So Wooly, you get a choice. Do you want to go first, or do you want an extra person on your team?
Go first.
Okay, you get to pick your first person then. Who do you want with you on your team?
I want Raisin Bran.
Okay.
All right.
Bran, ever popular to pick. So it's you and Bran, which I think... Oh no, you had...
I had picked
an extra person last time.
Yeah, someone else had... yeah. Okay, so that means Moogle, you get Shiny and Cats.
Sorry, Moogle.
It's okay. I'm sure we'll get questions on Commander Keen this time.
you all ready for Riddles of the Spink?
Riddles of the Spink.
Well, they look like gumbroo.
So our first round is going to be assigned questions. I may have to flip around these, and it may be difficult for me because there's some specific questions I need to give to specific people. But we will start off with Catsman. Give me a video game with Jackie Chan in it.
Jackie Chan.
Let me just Google that.
What?
Just gonna double check. Jackie Chan, the video game. I'll give you a point for that, Catsman.
Fuck.
Okay, Happy. Give me a video game without Jackie Chan in it.
Fucking Overwatch. What is the game called Jackie Chan the video game? I'm double checking this. I don't see it. There's Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. There's Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster.
I got most of the name.
Where did you see Jackie Chan the video game?
It was the first YouTube result called Jackie Chan the video game. That's all right. I'll take away his point. Don't worry, Happy. I'll take away his point.
I'm going to question every single one of Happy's answers now.
Happy,
every single one.
The correct answer was actually Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, so you don't get a point for that. I'm sorry.
Cool.
Shiny.
Oh.
Name Sans Undertale.
What?
Name Sans Undertale.
Just
name
say
him.
Sans Undertale.
Name Sans Undertale.
Just name him.
Sans Undertale?
Correct. I thought you needed an easier one because you were having trouble last time you were on the show.
No, my answer, I still stand by it, should have been correct for my last one.
Bran, so it's your turn. Name an animal that can be killed in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
A boar.
No, the correct answer is grass.
Grass isn't an animal, it's a plant.
Not this again. Not again.
What am I missing?
I still have flashbacks.
Moogle.
That is me.
Tell me a character from a video game with a hot name.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, is not the correct answer.
Do you pass, Moogle?
Am I going to have to think about this for a little bit longer?
Can I give one?
You are welcome to give an answer for this one.
It's not going to be correct.
Go on, it doesn't matter.
Heat's Flamesman.
Who?
Oh, Heatman.
Heat's Flamesman.
No, the correct answer is Alucard. His real name is Adrian Fahrenheit Tepish. Yeah.
More like Fahrenheit Tepid.
I don't know how I found this out, but his middle name is Fahrenheit. There you go. Wooly. Lemmy Kilminster, Ludwig van Beethoven, Wendy O. Williams. What do these characters have in common?
They're all Bowser kids.
No, they're musicians.
I knew it.
So
I knew
getting
it.
more points.
No, we're
because
not
they're getting
getting
more
any
answers,
fucking
right?
points at the moment.
So you're reading within a line
no,
here, and there's three of them and two of us.
Yeah, I'm going one for you, one for them, one for you, one for them. So it comes to the same amount. Cats. Tiger Woods, Mario Andretti. Oh, wait, no. I'll do that one later. I've got a specific one for you. Catsman, sorry. Metal, air, bubbles, speed, explosions, brilliant light, heat, and wood. These elements combine to create which video game?
A large group of objects all together that isn't anything to do with Mega Man.
No, the correct answer is Mega Man 2.
No.
So it's Bran's turn. Bran, bullet is to William as torpedo is to...
Head.
I'll give you that. It's Theodore, but I'll give you that. Okay.
Shouldn't give him that.
I'll give him that.
I'll give him that. That's fine.
Moogle.
Hello.
Charles is to charge in as is to...
Omin?
Robert.
Oh!
Robert what?
It's Robert
Om.
Robert Om.
Charge in.
I like it. That's good. I like that.
Obvious.
Not to me.
Okay, let me have a look.
But not to me.
Okay, I'm gonna give this one to Happy then. Happy. Tiger Woods, Mario Andretti, and John Madden have been the names and faces of EA Sports games. Can you name another famous person who has lent their name and likeness to an EA game?
Sean White Snowboarding.
Is that EA?
Yeah.
Let me have a look. I want to see who actually made that.
Check in his work.
No, it's a Ubisoft game.
Fuck.
I didn't think I was wrong on this, but the correct answer is Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup.
Oh dear.
Okay, Shiny, we're going to do some word association. So I'm going to say a video game related word, and you're going to tell me a word related to it. So, okay, Shigeru.
Miyamoto.
Mario.
Tennis.
Crash.
Team racing.
Professor.
Leighton.
Daddy.
Bowser.
No, the correct answer was mime.
Oh dear.
Okay, Wooly, last one's for you. Sorry, Bran, but this one's very targeted. Final.
Fantasy.
Resident.
Evil.
Sonic.
2006.
Billy.
Hatcher.
Dippy.
Eggs.
Yes, correct. Okay, so at the end of that round, we've got Team Moog at 1 point and Team Happy at 2 points.
Let's go.
So we're going on to finish me off. So this is a buzz-in round, so get your Octothorpes at the ready.
Okay.
Good job, everyone.
I'm buzzing in advance.
You can't buzz in advance.
This is bullshit.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the first part of a memorable video game quote, and you are going to give me the answer. First question. Black Society. That's Wooly.
Like to do something criminal. Are you feared?
Correct. Do you think love can bloom even on a battlefield? Wooly.
Yes, I believe no matter the time and place, people can fall in love with each other.
I'll give you that. You can point for that. That's close enough. Would you stop listening to that radio, love? Ooh, no one. No one.
I'm trying to get to sleep.
Correct!
Yeah!
What's that from?
That is lyrics from Hideki Neganuma's song Let Mum Sleep from Jet Set Radio.
Okay.
The name's Axel. Moogle.
Got it memorized?
Correct.
Yeah!
So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wooly.
Wake up and smell the ashes.
Correct. And last one, I am heavy weapons guy. Catsman.
And this is my weapon.
Correct. So, at the end of that round, we've got 1, 2, 3 for Dougal, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Team Happy. So we're moving on to the last round. Quickfire round. Okay, so I've changed it up a bit, so these are going to be more definite answers than they've been before. The first one is I'm going to describe the box art for a video game, and as soon as you know it, just tell me what it is. You don't have to buzz in, you just keep saying until you get it right, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to start abstract and then make it easier as time goes on if you guys aren't getting it.
Okay.
So the box art for this game shows a road. On the road, there is a dinosaur. In the background of the picture, there is a billboard. No, not Super Mario Kart. There is a billboard that has the picture of the villain from the game on it and says that speeding is to be enforced by the villain. In the foreground of the picture, we can see a tiger. We can also see the main character.
Diddy Kong Racing?
Not Crash Team Racing, not Diddy Kong Racing. We can see the main character and the main character's sister. The main character is sat on a motorbike.
Crash Bandicoot 3.
It is Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
Yeah.
Correct. That's a point for Moogle. Good job. I've got another one for a box art for you. The background is the silhouette of a city. There are helicopters flying around the city with searchlights pointing towards the ground. We can see a famous landmark that appears to be missing its head and torch in the background as well. At the top of the picture is the logo for the game, as well as the game's name. At the bottom of the picture is the main character from the game looking up at the logo. He is wearing sunglasses and what appears to be some sort of leather jacket or trench coat. The game's box is extremely blue.
Deus Ex.
Deus Ex is correct.
Deus Ex, yeah.
Took you a while.
Wait, is the Statue of Liberty on the cover to Deus Ex?
That looks like the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, it's half of it. It's missing its head and its torch.
Hold on, I have to look this up. I own a big box copy of that game. No, the fucking Statue of Liberty isn't on the fucking front cover of Deus Ex, you lying piece of garbage.
It's on the one I'm looking at.
I only knew it because the head is missing.
Like, this is the box art to the copy of Deus Ex that I own, and it doesn't have a Statue of Liberty on it.
Yes, it does. I can see it right there.
Where?
It's just to the left of Denton's head.
What?
What?
Where?
I'm not seeing that either.
It's
That's just a building.
It's just a building.
It looks like a broken Statue of Liberty to me.
No, I don't think you've ever
that.
seen the Statue of Liberty before.
That's the Statue of Liberty.
No,
It's way in the background though. I never noticed it.
Doesn't look like the Statue of Liberty to me.
No, I can see it.
Oh well, never mind.
It's missing its head and torch. Remember?
Yeah, it does kind of. It matches the profile of the Statue of Liberty in the game. Although I wouldn't have noticed that was the statue.
I didn't notice.
I have never analysed this box art very carefully before. This is the first time, so
that's crazy. You know what's fucked up about Deus Ex? That the head fell off, and they just kept the head laying on Liberty Island. They didn't clean it up or anything.
Okay.
That's good cyberpunk, that is.
Next two questions. I'm going to read parts of the back of some video game boxes that I own, and you are going to try to tell me which video game it is, okay? So this could be difficult. The first one, it kind of gives itself away at the start, but it's going to be very difficult to tell which game it is unless I read some specific elements from this. So, okay. Remember, just say it when you got it. A brand new world filled with Mario fun.
Phalanx.
Odyssey, Sunshine.
Super Mario 3D World.
It is Super Mario 3D World. Well done, Cats, man. Run, jump, and climb through all kinds of exciting new levels, solo or with friends. Next box. In 16 years of playing games, I've never seen anything like this. A stunning mix of Asian mythology and sci-fi.
Okay.
Phalanx.
Relentless.
Asura's Wrath.
It is Asura's Wrath.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's my box. You own that. That's my box.
That's true. That was your box, Moogle.
That's my box.
All right. Next up is going to be our music round. I'm going to do some video game music on my mouth trumpet, and you're going to tell me what it is. Okay?
Oh, God.
You just scream. Is it just scream out the answer?
Let me wet my whistle. Hold on. Yes, it's E1M1 Gates of Doom. Happy you're wrecking it today. And another one.
Yoshi's New Island.
Balloon fight.
Yes, it's Balloon Fight.
Nice.
All right.
All of these sound like Yoshi's New Island to me.
That's just because it's done on the same instrument.
At the end of the day.
All right, last round is going to be our debate round again. Team Moog, you are very much in the losing position, and I don't think you're going to be able to make up those points.
You're welcome.
We will give you the choice of which side you want to argue on this debate, okay? So, Pikmin, right?
Yeah.
Is it wrong for Olimar to use the Pikmin as his own personal army to get himself home? You can, Moogle, you're still in the
I will
sort of
take
seat there.
the stance that it is right for him to do so.
Okay, that means Happy, your team is taking the opposite stance.
So I'll start. And anyone else on the team, feel free to chime in as well. On the basis that there is an equivalent exchange, so Olimar gets home and he uses the Pikmin to do this, but he also increases the amount of Pikmin, and he also makes those Pikmin stronger as he goes along.
Well, it's a symbiotic relationship as well.
There is a symbiotic relationship. They both benefit from this exchange. It is not wrong for him to do so.
Yeah, but he's fucking up the the natural order of things in like the ecosystem.
What's the benefit of the natural order of things when it means that Pikmin are going to die? To the Pikmin, what he's giving them is good.
Are Pikmin an invasive species?
They could be if he lets them overpopulate, and then they're going to overrun the entirety of Earth, and then it's just going to be all Pikmin.
So, Moogle, I could say that if I own another human being, that is a symbiotic relationship, because, I feed them and they work for me.
Slavery is what he's just said.
That's as much symbiotic as Olimar to the Pikmin.
Olimar doesn't force the Pikmin to stay. They could leave if they want. He's got no power to make them stay.
In Pikmin, all he ever does
whistle, is
he asks them to do things. He just tells them, hey, go over there. Like, if they didn't want to, they could just not.
I don't know about that.
But the problem with the Pikmin is that they can't coordinate individually, right?
Well,
they need leadership. They need
I'm on the wrong team, mate.
Yeah, you are. They need organized leadership in order to prosper.
I don't know how this is any different from regular slavery, though.
They would all die.
Before Olimar was there, they're probably on the brink of extinction, and he's brought them back from the brink. Biodiversity is good for any ecosystem, and in Pikmin, there's lots of different kinds of plants and animals, and it seems to me like in Pikmin, if anything, Olimar is aiding biodiversity.
No, but then he creates this gigantic army, and then when he leaves at the end of the game, when he leaves, that the Pikmin start to fend for themselves. So he's created this giant army that's going to take over the rest of the planet.
The Pikmin don't have leadership without him, though, so they would just disperse.
He teaches them leadership, though.
There's no evidence to see that he teaches them leadership.
No, that's
the
true.
final
at the end of
cutscene of the Pikmin 1.
Yeah, he's right. At the end of the game, it does show the Pikmin fending for themselves a bit.
So he's now created this self-sustaining army that's going to probably take over the planet.
But he comes back in Pikmin 2 and they haven't done that.
He comes back 5 minutes later. That doesn't count.
They haven't done it yet, and they're still fucking completely unable to fend for themselves when he gets back, and it's only been 5 minutes.
Over time, obviously, if he leaves for good, if he comes back in 100 years, there's going to be nothing left except for Pikmin. And then the Pikmin aren't going to have anything to eat, and then they're going to die. And then Earth is just going to be a wasteland.
Unless they have an agricultural revolution and learn to farm animals and, all this shit.
But he comes back 5 minutes. You say he comes back 5 minutes after he's left and they've all devolved back into, not being able to fend for themselves at that point.
No, he just goes to a different part of the planet, probably, and he creates, a whole new, now he has, 2 different populations of Pikmin taking over the world.
Bullshit. Olimar is the alien progenitor creating a bunch of civilizations that are gonna fight it out for dominance.
Yeah, exactly. He's messing with the natural order. Pikmin were about to go extinct. He shouldn't But
Pikmin aren't gonna fight for dominance with each other because ultimately they all work together.
I think it's a fallacy to say that, number one, that Pikmin being at the bottom is necessarily the natural order. They could have once been dominant and have been hunted or something by these other creatures. Saying it's the natural order that all the Pikmin are dead and stuff, which is effectively what you're arguing for, is both incorrect and also as unethical as intervening in an ecosystem.
I mean, at the end of the day, it would only take 1-2 endgame boss creatures to just end all of the Pikmin that he's helped create. They wouldn't be able to do much about that themselves.
Also, by the way, Olimar doesn't need to intervene anyway, because Pikmin already have a way of preventing extinction, because if a type runs out, the onion just creates one anyway. So Pikmin can't go extinct anyway, so he's not helping them.
They can't prosper, though, at the end of the day. I mean, he is helping them.
But they're never going to go extinct, so he doesn't need to preserve them, because they'll always be preserved.
One of a species does actually mean that it is technically extinct, because it can't breed on its own.
But the onion can breed on its own, though. We've established that.
Is the onion the Pikmin, though? Well? I don't think the onion is the Pikmin.
We've gone way off topic.
Yeah,
we're just
I'm out
arguing
my depth
mechanics
here.
now.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to call it specs.
Let me steer this. So we've talked a lot about the ethics of preservation on the planet, and I like that angle. But what about the ethics of actually controlling a population for your own gain without, like we've already said, okay, so yes, the Pikmin game, because then there's more of them, but then if they all die, they might go back to just being one again and lose all of that information. So what about the actual ethics of, is it right for Olimar to control this primitive species on, his terms just to get what he wants and then leave them, maybe they've learnt, maybe they haven't.
In order to enslave them in the first place, they have to be unable to move out of the environment that they're in. And ultimately, they could just leave. The Pikmin could just leave him alone if they wanted to, and they don't.
I don't know if that's true. I think the whistle that he has some sort of property that makes it so that they can't not obey him.
I mean, again, there's no actual evidence.
They're alerted to its presence, but as Kat says,
as far as we can tell in the games, the Pikmin are doing everything of their own free will. Let's be honest, if you were one Olimar and there was 100 Pikmin and those Pikmin wanted you dead, they would probably just pile on top of you and then tear you apart.
Yeah, actually,
they're vicious
there's an interesting little Easter egg you can do that has some scary implications. You can play dead in Pikmin, and if you do, the Pikmin will carry Olimar back to the Olimar and attempt to use him for sustenance.
What?
They carry him back to the onion and he gets sucked up into the onion.
Yeah, but it can't digest his spacesuit or something, so he comes out okay.
It seems like Pikmin are operate entirely on instincts, so they hear the whistle and they instantly go to it. They don't make a conscious decision to follow the whistle. I think it's clear that they have some sort of instinct that does that makes them go to it, and Olimar's taking advantage of the dumb creatures on this planet.
I mean, if you're arguing that they're not conscious, then you can't really say it's unethical to control them.
As someone who doesn't really know that much about Pikmin, having never played it, is the main function of the game not for Olimar to fix his ship and leave?
Otherwise, he's going to die. Yes.
Okay, so maybe they're just trying to get rid of him. So they are
Could be.
The difference, though, is that in Pikmin 2, he comes back and he uses the Pikmin for profit.
That's cheeky.
That's true. That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, you could definitely argue the first one is a life or death, but the second one is literally just hey, we need money. 3 is also life and death.
Pikmin 1 and 3 is a life and death situation.
But 2 is just greed and capitalism. How is that any different from regular slavery?
He's still benefiting the people involved, though.
Argued that the Pikmin aren't conscious. You have to rescind that point if you want to say that they can be enslaved for profit.
All right.
Okay, I
dug myself into a hole here.
He's withdrawn the point.
Therefore, they don't suffer because they're not conscious.
It depends if you're of the perspective that it is cruel to use animals for profit, which some of us are.
Mm-hmm.
But that then comes back to the preservation.
Although, I thought if we were going down this line, I thought Pikmin were probably closer to plants than to animals.
Yeah, but grass is.
What do you think they taste like? Anyway.
I think they taste like
vegetables.
Taste
like
like carrots. Yeah.
They're called Pikmin because they look like pick carrots.
Pickles.
Yeah, that too.
I imagine that some of the bigger ones taste like peppers.
Okay.
I mean, one of them tastes like rocks because they're just made of rock.
I love rocks.
I'm going to cook some rocks.
Rocks really crunchy.
Should we draw a line under it and decide a winner?
I think actually, given that you got Woolly's team to go on the back foot and rescind their points, I'm going to give it to Team Moog. That nets you 5 points, which puts us at a stalemate of 10 points each.
Hey!
So I've got a tiebreaker prepared. Tiebreaker. Okay, so I'm going to describe a video game for this tiebreaker using Wikipedia. Okay, and you're gonna the team is gonna give me we'll say anyone can shout out. Right. Okay, I'm gonna describe the gameplay as
stop bouncing,
on Wikipedia.
Bran.
Yeah, Bran, stop hitting your mic. Okay, I will try to leave out the word of the name of the video game as best I can, and just as soon as you know it, then let me know, okay? The gameplay of Game is mostly comparable to earlier series titles and Japanese role-playing games. The game features 3 modes of play: the world map, the field, and the battle screen. At its grandest scale, players explore the entire world of Game on a 3D world map. The world map, correct, Moogle wins. So that's Team Moogle with the bonus point for the tiebreaker, and you are the victors, which means everyone on your team gets 2 specs points. Please keep count of your own specs points, because I can't remember.
6 points now.
Then why did you say the debate segment didn't matter?
Well, it wouldn't have mattered, but they won, so it brought.
You said the point difference would be enough anyway.
It wasn't actually. I totted it up later, and it's because the debate section's worth 5 points. You had 10 points, and they had 5 points, so that brought them in line with you. That's the quiz.
All right.
I'm writing down my specs points.
That's probably the last quiz. I think I will try to retain parts of it maybe and wrap them up. I can't do the first section again anymore because I can't think up weird questions like that forever. But I can probably bring back some of the quickfire stuff and maybe come up with some more debates since they seem fun.
Yeah, I like the debates. That's all the planned content, I think.
Ooh.
Can I have a bit of a rant about how shit de novo is, just for a couple of seconds?
Oh, I love that.
Please do, because there's fucking proof that it's shit now as well.
Right, so for a long time, I've been fiddling with my graphics settings for Monster Hunter World, because I've been like, it doesn't run quite as well as I'd like it to good settings, so I've had to bump in some of the quality to make it run better. And I found out recently that actually de novo, which Monster Hunter World has, it really bloats exe files and makes everything run slower and up to about like 10% slower in terms of frame rate from what I've heard. And was it Devil May Cry 5? They released a non-de novo exe so people by accident and people could directly compare how well the game ran with and without de novo, and it runs significantly worse. I'll let you take over, Moogle, if you want to.
So what they found is that Devil May Cry 5 released with de novo, but they accidentally enabled users on Steam to download a non-de novo copy. So, like, you could download legitimately through Steam without being a pirate or anything. You could download a de novo free copy, and it was about a fifth of the file size, I think, and it consumed a lot less CPU usage. But the thing with it is, it's entirely down to CPU usage. If you've got a good CPU, it doesn't really make that much difference. So it made much more difference for people who are at the edge of the recommended and the required specs, and less of the if you had a really good PC anyway, it wouldn't have mattered that much.
So I'm looking at a screenshot here with de novo and without de novo, and the de novo frame rate is 74 frames per second. The without de novo is 93 frames per second. This is just standing still in a hallway.
Yes.
On what kind of CPU is that?
Let me see. I have the specs.
The thing about these is, I've said this for ages, that de novo degrades performance, and there's loads and loads of benchmarks of different games that show a small impact normally on sort of like frame rate, and oftentimes there's quite a large impact on loading times.
Yes, that's also true.
And every time this happens, people come out of the woodwork and they go, well, it's because a subsequent patch that removed de novo also made the game run faster because of other optimizations. And it fucking pisses me off, because it's like, yeah, if that happens with one game, you can say that. But every game that gets de novo removed from it ends up running and loading faster. So don't pull this fucking bullshit of it was all because of an update to the game.
They can't pull that shit anymore, because Devil May Cry has proven beyond like any shadow of a doubt that it is the case, because otherwise, other than de novo, the executables are exactly the same.
Also, because de novo it's not just like a thing that you download and then push a button and it adds, because it's a bespoke integration where the de novo people will take your game and they'll do something to it and they'll give it back to you. The implementation of it is kind of different in every game that it's in.
Yeah.
So that's why you often get disparities where some have better performance and some don't.
But it is just worth pointing out, it disproportionately affects people with worse PCs. Adding insult to injury, more people could play your game if you didn't include de novo on it.
Especially in games where you've got a massive online component like Monster Hunter World. It's like, well, if I want to play online, I've got to have a non-cracked copy anyway, right? So please remove that shit so I can play the game at better frame rates. The other funny thing that came out with this story was your version of C5 came without an EXE, didn't it, Moogle?
Yes, it did. So on release night, so if you tried to download it, you got the game, but you didn't get the executable with it. Which was easily fixed by me going on to I think I went on to 4chan, but I could have gone to like Reddit or any of the other places, and they linked to the EXE. So actually, no, you couldn't have done it on Reddit because you'd get banned.
Pirate the EXE!
But I pirated the EXE on day one because I legitimately bought the game and they didn't include it with it. So yeah, that was fun.
The new Sonic racing game is going to have de novo, and I'm in a bit
I'm
of a bind
getting it
because
anyway.
that's the first game that I might be interested in
Don't.
that has de novo, and I'm kind of hoping it's bad, because then I will be like, oh well.
We already basically know that it's not going to be as good as Transformed.
I mean, there's no Alex the Kid, obviously.
Because it can't be. So
yeah, it doesn't look very good.
There's no
Cats.
Danica Patrick.
It doesn't look very good.
It looks a lot slower.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The thing that I loved about Sonic and All Stars was the way that there were so many different levels of boosts, and that you could chain them together by doing combinations of different tricks. It made the movement system really technical, and also the fact that you had to aim the weapons, and you could also avoid the weapons if you were skilled enough. So, I think Sumo Digital know what they're doing. But I also think that Sonic Team or someone might be involved, and Sonic Team will be like, can you make it shit?
Speaking of kart racing games, is anyone going to try and purchase like the remade, remastered, whatever, Crash Team Racing?
Oh, maybe. If
I'm highly tempted to pick that one up as well.
That game looks like garbage,
visually.
I mean, Crash Team Racing was an amazing and highly underrated kart racer.
It's fucking good, lad. Really good.
It was better than Mario 64 Racing.
Yeah, it was. Also, Crash Team Racing, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it emulates very well, does it? So
no idea.
Right, I remember, I think you can get it on like PS4, and I played it with MD, and there was some there's some issues with the emulation on that.
Because it
wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't run in like PlayStation 1 emulators that ran every other game absolutely perfectly, because there was some weird wizardry that Naughty Dog did just to make that game run.
They did that with all of their games, though. Like the first Crash Bandicoot, people did not believe that it was running on real hardware when they first saw it.
Yeah.
They did a lot of shady shit that they weren't supposed to be allowed to do to get that game to run, like working with the microcode and stuff.
No, this is the thing. They didn't actually do anything shady, but people thought that they had access to like I think what they said was like, oh, they must have access to the silicon, like the direct access to the code. But no, they didn't. They just went and fucking were magicians.
They did do something that Sony was hoping no one would do, though, and write a game that basically reads from the disc the whole time while you're playing it. But it didn't kill any PS1, so I guess they got away with it. And now all games do that, of course.
I really like the fact that Crash 1 was like, rather than doing traditional animation, well, I guess you wouldn't have had much traditional animation.
You couldn't
at the time,
have had skeletal animation on it.
They did vertex like animation, which is kind of why it looks so weird and why Crash has such weird features and stuff, because they had to make it really obvious what was going to be moving.
But I love it, though. I love how like stretchy and squishy everything in that game is. Like it looks like a cartoon. You can always tell, like, cartoon. If a game is cartoon style and it uses rigged animation, it just looks like shit, because rigged animation can't have like stuff stretch and squish and deform.
That's not entirely true, because I've done stuff with boned animations that you have been able to like stretch stuff with, but it looks weird when you do it that way. Shall we stop?
Not that it's going to matter by the time, but I just want to point out that we're finally getting crowdfunding giving us games we fucking want that would otherwise be dead.
What game are you talking about?
Fucking R-Type Final 2 is coming out.
Oh, you're obsessed with R-Type Final.
What the fuck is R-Type Final? I don't know what it is.
R-Type is a side-scrolling shoot 'em up.
I've only ever heard of it from you.
I know, right?
No, R-Type is really good.
R-Type's excellent. It's very famous.
It's like a contemporary of like Gradius and stuff.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what that is either.
It's a side-scrolling shooter, so you've got like a spaceship and it dies in one hit, and you have to get to the end of the level, which scrolls automatically. It's one of those.
Like a horizontal version of the game on the Game Boy Color camera game.
Yes.
Don't know what you're
like the one that
about.
the fucking
With the big
game,
head.
the game that came with all mobile phones at some point. That was just that thing. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Like that, but amazing.
I've been like really wanting to get back into shmups recently. I used to love all the PC shmups like Demon Star and stuff. And there were like Raiden, Raptor Call of the Shadows, Zone 66. Yep. I kind of want to like just pick up like Thunder Force or something and play all the way through it.
May I make an observation on shmups?
Go on.
So the modern equivalent of a shmup is Star Fox, I would say, right?
I mean, it's not even the modern equivalent, it's just like it's a different perspective of that.
Okay, so shmups are dead in both 2D and 3D.
Yeah, pretty much. The other thing is that they announced this new game that they're making on April Fool's Day, and IREM as a company that makes R-Type is like really famous for doing really bad taste April Fool's gags like that. So everyone initially just thought, no, fake, fuck off. But like a day later they came back, no, seriously, we are making this, we promise. So everyone was very happy at that point.
Someone else announced something on April Fool's Day, I think, and everyone was like,
it's
what?
Like a bad time.
And it turned out to be real. I can't remember what that was.
Was it the new Bubsy game?
No.
Thank God.
No.
There is another
What is it with
Bubsy
you and
game?
orange cats?
I just love all orange cats.
Especially Rusty's. Rusty's is the best.
Rusty has a cool cat.
Cat's you an asshole.
Just a loud cat, actually, thinking about it.
Very good cat.
I'm a loud cat, bad. That's the end of that meme. That was
cat bad.
That was the swan song of that meme that you just heard. That's
what,
it.
Cool cat bad.
I'm putting it in the grave
Loud
now.
cat
Cool
bad.
cat bad is now gone.
That's fucking dead.
May she rest in pieces.
Hello and welcome. That's right. Rock me, baby. Baby. Rock me, baby. Baby. That's right. Baby, 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 baby.
Now I'm going with Mike Pence's favorite game, but I need a game for Mike Pence to really like.
I don't know anything about Mike Pence.
50 pence blood in the sand.
He wants to fuck his own mom. There are some games that let you do that.
Yeah, but I mean, Freud said that we all want to fuck our own mums.
Well, Freud was wrong.
Yeah,
Except about Mike Pence.
The thing was that Freud did actually want to fuck his own mum, so I think that's where he got that from.
The Sims.
Games where you can have sex
with
your parents.
You can't be gay though.
You better.
That's the problem. You can't be gay, but you can have sex with your mom. So
The Sims
No,
with
it
mods
just-
on it.
It just comes up with online safety advice for children, so I think it's Google now thinks I'm a sexually abused child.
Congratulations. Should have done that. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that.
Look, if the police come over, I can just explain to them that I was trying to win a video game related quiz.